Chris Ransom, William Yanish. Joseph Potter should join us later. I'm going to go through my wild card matchups. We'll also go through William's wild card matchups that he sent me. And then we'll go through Joey's whenever he decides to join us. And if Joey does not join us, I'm just going to figure out who adjusting those matchups when he gets here. Because, I mean, it's like, this is very time consuming. All right, there's a lot going on today. There's the QMJHL draft is on today. The NHL Combine's on today. So there's just a lot going on in sports today. Hockey-related Stanley Cup's on today. So Emil Rowans, Jaden Tillman. Holy crap, they're already on round 4. I thought this thing was supposed to start at 10. It was supposed to start at 10. They're already on round 4. They must have started at 9 because I remember yesterday the draft usually starts at 7, but they started it early at 6:50, so that's probably why they're on the 4th round. But regardless, I need to shift my priorities to these NFL playoff games. Now, I can watch it on mute, but I got to focus on the NFL too. Now, let's start with the game. We have one wild card game we agree on, William. That is Patriots and Texans. And I'm going to give the Patriots the advantage at quarterback. Drake May. I had a blue chip grade on Drake May. I had a Pro Bowl grade on Stroud. I didn't have him in the blue chip tier.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the Patriots the quarterback advantage. I'm giving the running back advantage to New England. Ramondre Stevenson, Trevian Henderson, and then they got a third running back in the 7th round of the draft this year. I think Jam Miller from Alabama. So they're going to get the running back advantage. With a healthy Tank Dell, the Texans take this a lot closer than people think. But A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, he's number 2 on the Packers when Watson was healthy, and when Watson was injured, he was their number 1. So you essentially now have 2 number 1s. You're moving your number 2, Booty, to slot receiver. You're moving your number 4 receiver to your number 4 receiver was your number 3 receiver was Demario Douglas. You're moving him to number 4. Imagine if the Patriots had kept Diggs and still had all this firepower, but I think that may have ruined the chemistry. Yeah. So they decided to move on from Diggs because of that.
They still have one of our favorite players from last year's draft, and Kyle Williams, coming up. So
they do, and they've got Efton Chisholm III as well. So when you take that depth into account, they have the wide receiver advantage over the Texans.
Yep. And it sounds like they got slot receiver figured out. You know, they're not trying to make it slot number 1 and everything else.
Yeah, because Booty was a good number 2 last year, but with the additions of Dobbs and Brown, you move him to the slot. I know he's unhappy about the demotion. I know he wants a trade, but it's like, go out there, prove your worth, and then you can sign a contract as a number 2 or a number 1 on another team next year. Don't be a baby about this. You're still on a rookie deal. You're still New England's property for this season. They're not trading you unless they get like a top 100 pick. You were drafted in the 6th round. You were drafted after Demario Douglas, I think. They're not trading you unless you get them another top 100 draft pick. They know that.
I definitely agree.
And they know teams are going to lowball them for Booty. They know that. That's why.
Well, it's a good team, and this year, hopefully, they can take that next step. You know, last year, it was a Cinderella kind of thing. I had the Bills picked, you know, until about week 10 or 12, and I was like, wait a minute, no, it's going to be the Patriots, man. And, you know, sure enough, it was. And,
I told you were a year early on the Bills. I told you last season you were a year early on the Bills.
Yeah,
but we'll get to the Bills later. They're everyone's number 1 seed. They're Joey's number 1 seed. They're your number 1 seed. They're my number 1 seed. I think that's pretty telling. What's interesting is I went over the Texans depth chart this morning on Our Lads. They have Foster Moreau as the backup to Dalton Schultz, and they have Marlon Klein ahead of Cade Stover on the depth chart. So Cade Stover and Brevin Jordan are competing for 4th string.
Okay,
I don't buy that. If that's the depth chart the Texans roll with, I have to give the Patriots the tight end advantage. That is underutilizing your tight end room
man. Yeah,
to the 9th degree.
Cade Stover showed for years at Ohio State what he was, and I mean,
Yes.
watching him pancake people, two guys, Travion Henderson, 30-yard touchdown,
I like
right up
Fabian
the
Morrow,
middle.
but he's not better than Cade Stover.
No,
And
not at all.
Marlon
I'm not
Klein, you're
sure.
putting him ahead of Stover and Brevin Jordan on the depth chart? That's
Klein's a
fireable
blocking tight
offense.
end, man. Klein is a blocking tight end.
Yes.
He's not a whole lot more.
I can respect the fact that you put him at third string instead of backup, but I think he's the fifth best tight end on this roster.
That's probably, yeah. And that's probably because of his blocking ability that they have him up that high. You know, and I mean, but and they know they got to have that. But what teams carry more than three tight ends? Maybe one on the practice squad. It's an underutilized
that want to start
position.
2 tight ends carry 4 to 6 tight ends now.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's becoming so much more of a thing. You watch the Chargers; they're going to be featuring Oronde Gadsden, but now they have David Njoku. Jinx, you owe me a Coke. But yeah, man, people are like thinking that's going to be down on Oronde Gadsden. No, it's like, dude, putting those two guys on the field at the same time, 12 personnel, it's like you really have something there, and they don't know what the target is going to be, who the target is going to be, and it opens things up. You can do a whole lot of things with those personnel, man.
That's crazy. Is
I gotta say, man.
The Texans kept Luke Lakey on the practice squad, and the Packers picked him up. So basically the Texans replaced Luke Lakey with Marlon, which is kind of a downgrade.
Luke, he showed so much in college. He flashed like so many times. And it's like, this kid can actually play. And he showed, halfway, I don't know how you can say that, halfway consistency flashing, but he did, And I really liked him coming out of Iowa. He was out in my top 3 for a minute, and kind of slid off, because he didn't really show out at Iowa. And Iowa is not a place for tight ends to do anything but get to the NFL. I mean, Georgia Kittle.
I honestly, I'm going to give the Texans a tight end advantage for now. I'm going to be nice, but to be honest, if Foster Moreau and Marlon Klein are ahead of Cade Stover and Brevin Jordan come playoff time, we're going to have a problem here. To the point where I'm going to want to give New England a tight end advantage.
But, I like what they did with Eli Raridan. Notre Dame is another one of those colleges that is a pipeline to the NFL for tight ends. And I mean, he at the combine, he looked, pretty average, but that doesn't mean that he can't play. He's just got to make that next step into the NFL, and hopefully it works. And he's in a perfect position to do it. I mean, there's not much in front of him. And, I mean, yeah. So I'll leave it at that.
And then the next offensive line matchup, I would give the offensive line advantage to the Patriots. But you could argue this is a push. But I think Will Campbell has the ability to be a blue chip left tackle. I don't feel that way about Ursary, but I thought both had very good rookie seasons up until Campbell's injuries late in the year. And once Campbell was rushed back from the injury, they did.
Because they were making a playoff run, and
exactly.
How it ended was not his fault. He got thrown to the wolves, and Seattle just knew how to make that happen. They knew that he was in that spot, but the best thing is afterwards, the lesson that he learned. What lesson did he learn? And I'm sure it was a good one, because people are so, I mean, Will Campbell he's got the confidence. He has everything else. I don't believe that broke anything.
He was my number 2 player last year behind Travis Hunter, and people gave me shit for that take, and that take aged like wine. And one could argue he had a better rookie year than Travis Hunter. So there's that.
Yeah. I mean, it it is what it is. He's got to take the next step and come back, and he is a competitor, from hell. And I mean,
Defensive
like,
line is a push, though, because New England's got a very good 34 defense, and the Texans also have a very good 43 defensive line. So the defensive line's a push for me. I would give the Patriots the advantage at linebacker, though. I would give the secondary advantage to New England as well, because even though I like Houston's nickel corner, I think Stingley's the best defensive back on both teams. Maybe I don't appreciate what Christian Gonzalez did enough last year, but
yeah,
I think just as far as raw overall talent, but Christian Gonzalez got us the Super Bowl. He kept JSN in check. And, I mean, both
that
these
is,
teams have elite number one corners.
yeah,
And,
for sure. JSN is a complete handful. That's why I drafted him in the third round of our startup in fantasy, man. It was like I kind of had an idea what was going to happen. I had a first round grade on him. He was my wide receiver 2 behind Josh Downs. But Josh Downs just had that elite step, getting up.
yeah, but what was crazy about that
And
draft is Jim Nagy
JSN
kept
is
telling
just,
people, NFL scouts said JSN's the only receiver that had a round one grade. I knew
yeah,
that take was bullshit. And when I pointed out Zay Flowers at a good Shrine Bowl, I got blocked because he only
yeah,
wants people promoting his guys at his
yep.
game.
And same thing with Jordan Addison. I
Yeah,
mean,
Addison was
he
in that
hasn't had a
draft.
quarterback,
Quentin
man.
Johnston was the second receiver drafted. I think he may have been the first. I don't remember. I think
Yeah.
Johnston went ahead of
It,
JSN in that draft. I'm not sure.
no, I think it was JSN and then Quentin Johnson.
Let me
Quentin
look that up.
Johnston, you know how I feel about him. It's Quentin Johnston. He quits when, or he just never even starts when he's not going to get the ball. And that is something that I saw with Dazon's dribbling. But I'm not going to go off on that little rabbit hole yet. So
I'm gonna give the Patriots the advantage because I think their defensive back room's a little bit, their safety's a little bit more. Craig Woodson had a great rookie year. They got Kevin Byard from the Bears. So okay, I'm pulling up the 2023 draft results page in Draft Utopia. I gave the Patriots an A+ for Christian Gonzalez at 17. JSN was the first receiver. He was picked 20th. I gave that an
that's
A.
what I thought.
And Quentin Johnston, I gave that an A as well. And then I gave Zay Flowers an A. They were all drafted 20 for 23. So each receiver was drafted one spot apart. So Nagy was correct when he said JSN was wide receiver 1. But I think the NFL scouts that were telling him there's only one receiver with a first-round grade, those scouts basically only had 19 or 20 players on their board with first-round grades, and they had early seconds on the other receivers. But I think they also severely underestimated what the other receivers can do.
Well, yeah, and I had such a hard time because I was putting up my big 3. I had Downs, I had JSN, I had Addison, and I had Zay Flowers.
I had Flowers at 2 and Addison at 3, but it was very close. And I kind of,
man.
And there were people like Dane Brugler. If you remember, Dane Brugler's wide receiver 1 in that draft was Quentin Johnston. Johnston had the game where he had 200 receiving yards against Kansas, and basically Brugler called it wide receiver 1 for that one game. Completely overlooking the bad games before that game because nobody had separated themselves at that point in the season.
Quentin Johnston had, he, like I mentioned, he would quit on before it even started, but he also has stone hands.
Yeah.
He could do a lot of things if he wanted to. I didn't have him in the first round.
Charged fifth-year tender. They gave him a fifth-year tender because they only have Ladd McConkey for 4 years on his rookie deal. And if you give him that fifth-year tender, those are your top 2 receivers until both their rookie contracts expire. So you don't have to draft another receiver.
Yeah. For sure, and I really like Ladd McConkey too. I thought, that should have been the
Trey Harris. They got him in
last. But
year's draft. We'll get to the Chargers later, but
Yeah,
I'm looking
we
at
will.
the Patriots. I don't know where the Texans have the tight ends a push if they move Cade Stover down to tight end 4. And then I would also argue, okay, defensive line's a push. So after grading 9 positions, I'd give the Patriots the advantage in 7, and the other 2 are pushes. So I'm going to give the Patriots the win, but I will be nice to Texans fans. I will say the Patriots only win by a touchdown in Houston. So the Patriots, who I have I'm looking at the records I have for each team. I don't look. Okay, I'm looking at the records that I have for each team. So the records are on the bottom. So I have the Texans at 9, and I have the Patriots at. I mentioned the Packers in the last draft, but the Dallas Cowboys Packers first round pick. They traded their other first round pick to the Jets. I believe the Cowboys first round pick from the Micah Parsons trade. So I just want to correct myself on that before. I'm not going to replay the mock draft. If you want to see the mock draft, go to last week's episode. But I just wanted to correct myself on that one thing, William, because that is as a big error, and I'm going to go 24-17 Patriots. I just think New England's a better team now versus last year, and Texans, I don't think they have enough personnel to stop New England's offense.
Yeah, that offense is going to be a juggernaut this year, but the Texans still have arguably the best defense in the league, but they're going to be put to the test. I think this game is going to be a little bit closer, man. I'll go.
Yeah, last year it was 28-16.
Let's say 24. Yep.
That's why I went 24-17. You're going 24-16. That's cool. So the Texans get 16 again, but they hold the Patriots to 24. So we're pretty much on the same page with that game. So the 5-seed Patriots are the first team to join the divisional round.
I'm not gonna, just leave the Texans out there. I mean, how close this game can be. They can win. They can win if all the cards fall right. I want to give them credit for that. They've
been very good in wild card games. They've been horrible in the divisional round.
But like I said, it's going to be a close game, but I do like the Patriots, man.
I like the Patriots as well. Next game I'm gonna go to is Bengals Chiefs in Cincinnati. This is gonna be my Saturday night game on Amazon Prime because this is the only game Joey and I have in common. He's got the Chiefs as the home team. I've got the Bengals as the home team, but I'm gonna take the Chiefs 28-24. I think this will be a high-scoring game. I love what the Chiefs did in this year's draft, and as good as the Bengals defense has been, I don't think they have enough pieces to shut down this Chiefs offense. You got Rashee Rice playing for a payday. You got Worthy, Kels, Noah Gray. They added a receiver from Cincinnati that Travis Kelce loves. So Jalen Royals is going to be back year 2.
Yeah.
Tyquan Thornton. I just think the Chiefs have too many weapons.
You never mentioned it. Emmett Johnson, and I was watching him play the other day.
To Kenneth Walker. Great point, William.
Yeah, and he is, dude, whatever the measurables
are,
just go watch his film.
Back.
Yeah,
only
just
Jonah
go watch
Coleman
his
and
film.
Love
man.
were graded higher, and I think think Emmett Johnson has a better chance of starting. That's why I took Johnson over Coleman.
Let me tell you something, man. I maybe I shouldn't because you're in that league, but in another draft, I had one of the same guys from this league, and I kind of pulled a 180 to throw him off on what I'm going to do in this next
my
draft.
original plan was to get Skylar Bell. I already told you my original plan, but my original plan was let's get Skylar Bell whenever he falls to us. We're going to take Jeremiah Love at 1. We're going to take Skylar Bell whenever he falls to us. And because he went at 212, I noticed that both Surratt and Johnson were on the board. And when we both got to 305, 306, my plan was I'm getting both these guys. If that Bills fan is going to deny me a Bills wide monopoly, Yarby, if he's going to deny me a Bills wide receiver monopoly, I'm going to level the playing field. I'm going to get both of them. I don't care if I have to offer Theo multiple third-round picks to do it. And Theo's guy was Stribling, who I never would have guessed that's the guy he wanted.
Right.
So, and I'm happy that's who he wanted because that's who I didn't want.
Yeah, exactly. And Stribling is not somebody that has been picked because of his film. He's been picked because of who he is, because of his size, because of his speed, and because of his attitude. Of what he could be. Shanahan likes players he can coach, but Stribling is rough, man. I watched some of his film, and he Quentin Johnston started popping up in my head.
All right,
watching William, not even play. So
I'm going to give you, what NFC game do you want to break down? Because I've got the Chiefs. I give the Bengals the advantage at wide receiver.
I would give the Chiefs,
the advantage at quarterback, running back, tight end, offensive line.
Yeah.
I think defensive line is a push. I genuinely believe that with the Bengals additions. I give the Chiefs advantage at linebacker. Secondary, I give the Chiefs the advantage too. But I think the Bengals, as the home team, they will at least keep this close. That's why I went 20-24. Let me look at your games, William.
Hold on a minute. Let me say my piece. Well, I agree with you with the Chiefs. The Bengals have been absolutely spotty. It's kind of like what's going on here. They have drafted some players I liked in the last couple of years, but the Chiefs, I think, are going to be a little bit mad about last year, if that's possible.
I'm not saying the Chiefs are going to go on a run or anything, but I think they'll at least win their first playoff game.
Yeah, they kind of have to, and they're going to want to make the Bengals home stadium, whatever it is.
Yeah, and nothing would piss off the Bengals more than losing their first home playoff game back in the playoffs to the Chiefs in the wild card round.
Exactly. And I got 31-23 Chiefs.
Interesting. You've got the Bengals as your 2 seed, but you have Broncos Chiefs in your wild card. You also have I'm looking at your wild card you sent me on Under the Bleachers on Wednesday. Your wild card games are different from mine. Okay.
I was trying to remember if I got the right ones on
Monday night. We'll save that for Monday night or Sunday night football. That's not a Saturday night game. Chargers, Bengals, I feel like we should save that. That's probably the CBS game. If the Patriots-Texans is the first game on Saturday, that's probably the CBS game on Sunday, Bengals-Chargers. I'm looking at your bracket, William. So the second Saturday night game for you is an NFC game. Your choices are Rams-Giants, Seahawks-Buccaneers, or Lions-Panthers.
Rams, Giants, Seahawks, Buccaneers, or what's the last game again?
Lions hosting the Panthers.
Oh. Let's do the Seattle game.
Yeah, Seattle and Tampa Bay in Amazon Prime. Spoiler alert, that may be my NFC Championship. I'll break down why later in the show, but since this is William's bracket, I'm going to let him break down this game and reveal his first wild card winner in the NFC.
Yeah, for sure. And I like Baker Mayfield, and I love his heart. Last few years, or last year anyway, it was kind of a down year for him, but he's still that competitor. But going up against the Seahawks is something else. It has been for a minute. They've had their up and downs, but now they have found what they think is their franchise quarterback. Free Jalen Milroe. But it's going to be a much tougher game than everyone thinks, and I just love what weapons Baker Mayfield is going to have, and Igbuka and some of those guys coming up, Tez Johnson. I'm trying to think about who else they drafted there, but
I just realized the draft analyst at the QMJHL draft looks like Vikings left tackle Matt Khalil. It's funny. The draft analyst at Halifax, he looks exactly like Matt Khalil. I'm sorry, there's just something so funny about that, William.
Right. You know, I do like the Seahawks in this game just because of what they found lately and their newfound confidence. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
they came and now they're trying to say, "Oh yeah, well, we won a Super Bowl and in the Niners home stadium." It's like, well, there's never going to be a Super Bowl in your shitty stadium. You'd have to clean up a whole lot up there, and
Yeah.
well, I,
Well,
I would love to see them, but I will pick them. I will say
all right,
23-19.
because spoiler alert, that is my NFC Championship game, and I also have Seattle winning, but I'll
Yeah,
break down the positions later in the show. I mean, we got other
right.
games we got to get to in the wild card. I don't want to waste any more time. So the Sunday afternoon game is going to be Buccaneers-Niners, and I'm going to be honest with you, William. This, for me, was the toughest game to pick, looking at the matchups. Quarterback, I'm actually giving your boy Purdy the edge. But I also think there's a greater urgency for Baker to win with him in a contract year.
Very much.
That's why you could argue this is a push, but I'm giving Purdy the edge.
Yeah.
And then,
Brock Purdy has come in and set everybody wrong. He is a very efficient quarterback. He averaged more points in a game. They're like, oh, but his supporting cast. Who's his supporting cast? It was like, does anyone consider what he started with, Ayuk and Devo and Jennings? Top tier wide receivers. It's like no one thinks that, and it's like, what, because he has George Kittle? Well, yeah, maybe, but Kittle plays as he plays the same way all the time. He's consistent. He's having fun out there, and I just think if the Niners are healthy, what Shanahan does in coaching, he tries to get these guys to buy into a system, and like I was talking about Stribling earlier, I hope he can do something with Stribling because I wouldn't have drafted him at all, and I hate to say it, but his film is terrible.
it is.
And I mean,
well, I don't even think he's going to beat out Jordan
press
Watkins,
coverage, man.
Wide receiver
No,
4.
He won't. Jordan Watkins played at Ole Miss just the same, and he put up, so much better numbers there.
All right, we'll get to the first 2 games of Joey's bracket. I mean, I still want to break down Buccaneers-Niners in depth, but I will gladly I'll break down the offense, and then I'll leave our audience on a cliffhanger. So wide receiver, I'm giving Tampa Bay the edge at wide receiver. I gave the Niners the edge at quarterback and running back. Wide receiver, I'm going to go Buck. I just think the depth. I know Mike Evans is on the Niners, and that will make this game super intriguing for that reason. But Chris Godwin, Emeka Egbuka, Jalen McMillan, Tez Johnson, Ted Hurst, and then you've got Kate Otten at tight end. You've got Payne Durham as a backup in a contract year. You got O'Keefe. You got that tight end from Washington that the Buccaneers drafted. And you could argue the Buccaneers have just as much running back depth as the Niners, but they don't have that star that puts them over the top like the Niners do in McCaffrey. And I look at, charts for these teams. Sharp, Devin Colt, they've got 5 different tight ends. So tight end depth clearly goes to Tampa. But if Kittle plays, I think you could argue that the Niners get the tight end advantage if he's back from his injury by the wild card. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, and Kittle has, just that attitude that he's going to come back from this injury. But, I mean, besides that, 2 weeks prior to the injury, he tore 2 ligaments. He was playing with 2 torn ligaments in his foot, which likely attributed to tearing his Achilles.
Probably missed most of the regular season. I still see that play
in my mind.
But him playing in the playoff game is 50-50 right now. We won't know more until the season progresses.
Yeah, and Jake Tonjes, he is good. He came out of nowhere, but that's so many of these players that Shanahan has on this team. They came out of nowhere, and that's kind of the point, you know. It's kind of that outsiders kind of feel to it, you know. We have all these injuries and we can still, you know, whoop the Bears and whoop everyone. But oh yeah, Seattle beats us once. Well, what do you do? Yeah,
Line
week one,
advantage
you
I'm
know,
going to
when we
give to
had all our
Tampa.
stars, we took it.
I think Wirfs really had a breakout year, and I like Graham Barton. I like Cody Mock when those guys are healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So the Niners, I feel like it's all Trent Williams and knows everyone else now. But they do have some guys who are good at what they do. Dominic Pooney's one of those guys. They do have guys that are great at what they do.
Yeah, and they have guys that are good at what they do, you know. I mean, their backups are good, and their backups now have a lot of experience. You know, I
Yeah,
mean, kind of
Joey's
had
here, but the
Colton
audio,
McKivitz.
I can't see his audio bar. Joey's here, but I can't see his audio bar, which means I can't hear him. So this is the second week in a row that's been an issue for him on Restream. So he's going to have to call over the phone if he wants to talk about these games. I was going to pull up his playoff bracket, but until his audio is working, I think we should just talk about the games. You know, we'll just keep talking because I didn't notice that his audio wasn't. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just that there's got to be an audio bar next to, in order for me to hear you on Restream, there's got to be an audio bar, and there's no audio bar next to Joey's microphone. I don't know what the issue is on his end. I'd love to get his opinion on some of these games, but again, because I know Joey made a bracket. I was going to pull up Joey's bracket and let him break down some games, but his audio's not working. And that, you know, if his audio's not working, that's a problem, William. That's something I can't fix. I'm trying to be mindful, but
Right. I'm not
also
sure,
looking at
you know,
the fact because there's a bar under. If you go to the screen, you'll see a volume bar under each person. You know, you'll see a volume bar. I see a volume bar under William. I see a volume bar under me. I don't see a volume bar under Joey. So there's some technical issue on his end.
I think he's trying to sign in through the app. He's telling me. I'm just going to send him. I mean, because I never ever use the Restream through the app.
I don't use Restream through the app either. That's the problem. Don't use Restream through the app. Use Restream on your computer. I don't use the app. I use the computer. I just use the link and I use the computer. All right.
Yeah, I don't even have the app on my phone. You know, I just click on the link that sent me. You know, I don't play with that stuff.
We'll break down the Niners defense while Joey gets his technical house in order. Defense.
This is something that's very interesting.
Yeah, the Niners. I'd give the defensive line advantage to the Niners. I do love Vita Vea. I do love Kalijah Cansey. The Niners, I just think they did a better job reloading their defensive line. Trading for Oso Digizua, have to give the Niners a defensive line edge, objectively speaking. Linebacker, I'm going to go Tampa Bay. I love the additions of Josiah Trotter, Reuben Bain Jr. Yeah, you could argue that the Niners have Fred Warner. They added Dre Greenlaw's back. Almost said Dre Kirkpatrick, but yeah, Dre Greenlaw's back in the Niners. Dre Kirkpatrick's
I saw Greenlaw come back, man, and
yeah, Dre Kirkpatrick was the Bengals corner. Dre Greenlaw's the Niners linebacker.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Dre Kirkpatrick's kid's in college now, so you think he's
Greenlaw on this defense. I mean, changes everything. He's kind of an enforcer. You know, he does things and make plays. He has enough
linebacker advantage. I'm going with Tampa though because they run a 34 defense, and whenever a team runs a 34 defense, I usually give them the linebacker advantage. And whereas if a team runs a 33 defense, I give them the defensive line advantage.
I think that Raheem Morris. I think that Raheem Morris is going to show a lot of different looks on this defense. You know, I think that Romello Height, you know, he played most, if not all, of his college standing up. You know, and it's that's kind of why I was questioning it. I wasn't questioning like who he is, but he is a situational pass rusher. He is that guy to put in there, and I think he can really bloom in that as long as, you know, there's not a lot of injuries. You know, last year we were missing everyone. I mean, I don't even remember the names of the starters at defensive tackle, and they were the worst defensive tackle. They had the least pressures in the entire league while they were in there. Those backup guys, and it was kind of one of those things. That's why we ended up going and getting Odigizua, you know, from Dallas. We stole him. You know, a third-round pick. We steal a lot of players, and we fleeced them, you know, at least getting a fourth out of Trey Lance. I didn't think we were going to get more out of Trey Lance than just cutting him. And it's like, so I've been trying to build a quarterback controversy, you know, in Dallas.
The cornerback advantage I'm going to give, defensive backs advantage I'm going to give to Tampa. I just have a little bit more confidence in Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, Zion McCollum than I do in the Niners cornerback room. And I do like the Niners safeties, but the Buccaneers have a star safety in Antoine Winfield. So after 8 positions, we are tied 4-4. We've got the Niners at 4, and we've got the Buccaneers at 4, William. Comes down to kicker.
You know,
kicker is the deciding factor, and I have more confidence in Chase McLaughlin than the Niners kicker. So I'm going to go 27-24 Buccaneers by a field goal at the end. If the Buccaneers against the Niners, it's going to be by a mere field goal. Nothing more, nothing less.
You know, Dylan Thieneman going, you know, 2 picks before the Niners got online. You know, they said that they got their second guy. They didn't get their second guy. It was Casey Concepcion, and it was Dylan Thieneman that they were thinking about picking. And when those two went, man, everything panicked. They didn't know what to do. And I think they really screwed up with Stribling. But, you know, I just, you know, could picture Thieneman in a Niners uniform, and that would have just been amazing. So I'll just add that.
But the Seahawks wanted Thieneman. They were prepared to give the Bears multiple first-round picks.
Yeah.
To get
I heard that too.
No, that's what they wanted for Conception. They were going to give the Bears multiple facts, dude. But yeah, next game is the Browns and the Chargers.
Like Conception coming out. Yeah,
I do too, but I like Denzel Boston more. I like Denzel Boston a little bit more. Denzel Boston's looked better at OTA so far. But I think the Chargers have a quarterback advantage. I'm going to give the Browns the running back advantage, but I think Omarion Hampton's going to have a better year 2 than Judkins. And I had Judkins as my running back 2 in last year's draft. But I also felt like Judkins had the best floor outside of Ginty. I think you could argue Hampton has a higher ceiling if he puts everything together. And that's why the Chargers took him in the first round. So we'll see if Hampton blossoms in year 2. I think he will. I'll give the Browns the edge at receiver, but tight end with Njoku on the Chargers have the tight end advantage. But the Browns have 3 quality tight ends. They have Fannin as their starter and 2 rookies who I really liked. They got the Cincinnati tight end and the BYU tight end in rounds 5 and 7. And I like...
Okay, Joey might be here in a minute.
I like the Browns' offensive line. I do. But the Chargers have 2 blue-chip tackles. I had a 98 for potential on Slater in 21, and I had a 97 on Joe Alt in 24. And the only player I had a max grade on the Browns coming out of college was Myles Garrett. They traded him away. So as good as Garrett Hurst is, he's at a disadvantage against both Alt and Slater if either of those tackles are healthy. If both those tackles are healthy, Justin Herbert will play well enough to fool most teams into thinking he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. When those tackles are healthy, he plays like a borderline top 5 quarterback. When those tackles are not healthy,
he flat out slings it, man.
Shit. He's not shit every week. It's just it varies week to week, you know.
Yeah,
Shit's
yeah,
not the
for
right
sure.
word, but it
They're
varies
starting
week to
to,
week.
yeah, they're starting to get, some form, bringing in and drafting Gadsden so late last year. It was like, what
They
the hell,
got
man?
Jake Slaughter in round 2, and
Hmm.
they got the Akeem Mesidor in the first round. So they've got that third edge rusher to
Yeah,
go against the Browns
you
offensive
can never
line.
have enough edge rushers, man. Ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever.
So I think the Chargers, I would give them the advantage at quarterback, tight end, and offensive line. Only position I'd give the Browns the advantage at is wide receiver. Running back, you could argue as well. You could argue running back. You could argue tight end. You could argue receiver. But the Chargers have 2 blue chip tackles in Slater and Alt. When they are healthy, only
Okay,
player on the Browns that can stop them is Garrett. I like Jared Verse. I had a grade on him coming out of Florida State, but I was higher on Bill Campbell, Alt, and Slater than I was on Verse. So I think
yeah.
limits their ability to beat a team like the Chargers. That doesn't mean they can't win. It means
Well,
they're going to need some injuries to happen to the Chargers, but over the course of the season, if they're going to win.
yeah, for sure. And I just want to know, with these fancy, shiny.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Can
we
you hear
hear
me
you
now?
much better. Much, much better.
We were just talking about the Chargers and the Browns, man. You showed up at the right time.
Yep.
And this is a perfect question for you that I was just headed off in. The Browns have these 2 shiny new guys on the outside with Concepcion and with Boston, and those are definitely 2.
They've got Isaiah Bond as a number 4. So
Who's
as
gonna
much
be
as I
thrown
like
to
the
him, man?
Chargers receiver room, I have to give the Browns the advantage at receiver.
Who-
I
Who's going to be
think
thrown
the
to
running
him, though?
back's a push. But I think you could argue, if you're a Browns fan, you could argue Judkins has the advantage over Hampton right now.
It's probably going to be Shadur. That is common misconception that Deshaun Watson's outplaying Shadur head and shoulders, should be named the starter. No.
I know that's fake news, Joey.
They're
I
trying.
appreciate
They're
you
trying to.
informing us about that, but I've known that's fake news since the start of mini OTAs.
They're
Rookie
jabbing
OTAs.
Shadur in the ribs, saying, "Go out there and win it. Go out there and win the competition. Beat him out." That's what they're telling him.
Yeah,
Simple as that.
and it's a smart move.
Yeah.
It is a very smart move.
I love.
But
love competition,
as good as
drafting the
Shadur
best
can
player.
be, I don't think he's as good as Herbert in this matchup. But I do think he's going to
No, sir.
surprise his critics this year. I think he's going to surprise his critics, and he's going to playoffs. But I also think the Browns are going to have to go through those growing pains as a team. And I like the Browns' defensive line. I will give them the advantage over the Chargers. But linebacker, I got to give the Chargers the advantage. Cornerback, Chargers don't have a good. Well, Chargers have Dante Jackson as their nickel corner. Browns have Miles Harden, who is 108th out of 114 corners as their nickel. They brought in Miles Bryant, the worst corner on the Texans, to be there to push him. And you got guys like Marshawn Lattimore, Kenny Moore, who are available, but Andrew Berry's not doing shit. He's neglecting that area, and he's putting faith in Miles Harden, and I think that's going to backfire. That is going to backfire, in my opinion.
Probably end up being a.
And Chargers, I still like Derwin James in this. But you could argue the Browns have better number 1 and number 2 corners, but it's close.
I'm not sure. Can you hear Joey's mic?
I can hear Joey, but it's in and out, in and out.
That's what I was talking about with Restream, man. And that I don't know, man.
It's almost like Joey is fighting the Microsoft paperclip to get into Restream, and the paperclip's just not having any of Joey's bullshit. I'm kidding.
Their paper clips working about as good as my connection.
Hey, what's up again?
I was making fun of the
How you doing?
Microsoft paperclip, not any paper clips that I own, Joey. But I appreciate the rebuttal.
Oh,
Glad your audio's working.
I try. But I'll be back at the house here in about 5 minutes, and I'll get on my computer, and then it'll be perfect clarity, as long as I hope.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say it because then you know something else is going to go wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I just don't have a lot of confidence in Miles Harden. I think if the Browns ended up playing the Bengals, I think that's the one team in this field of mine that I think.
Well, that's the thing. Miles Harden right now, he's not slated to be the nickel corner. Okay, he's not slated to be the nickel and dime corner. And I think that's what's getting lost here, is that position is a wide open slate between 3 or 4 guys right now. So that position, including McNeil Warren, who has been playing there a little bit in OTAs.
The free safety, and they're either going to move Hickman and nickel, or they're just going to let guys compete it out. And I think they need to go out and get a free agent, but I don't think they're going to. I think they're just going to let guys compete.
What I think's happening right now is because McNeil Warren has played both, so is Hickman, and they also have a couple pretty good number 3 and 4 corners and special teams guys, and I think they're going to interchange them. Because one thing we've learned is about this coaching staff, they want guys that can play multiple positions. I think that's what's going to happen with that nickel corner job. I think they're going to rotate them. I think they're going to keep teams guessing. And I think that there's going to be a little bit of pushback from the Browns on some of the assumptions with that position.
I don't think they have the D'Angelo Ross, Miles Harden, Miles Bryant. These are guys that would all be third stringers on most NFL teams. So this is not like
well, if you remember last year, Ross held his own in that last game of the year against the Bengals' top 2 receivers. So while he may only be a third guy, well, it's a nice third guy to have, especially if he's only playing nickel dime.
He's fifth on the depth chart.
Second string nickel dime.
Yeah, he's back up to Tyson Campbell, but he's the 5th.
That's not what I've been hearing.
Well, that's what I've been
hearing. Not what I've been hearing.
He's 5th. So
we'll see.
I'm not confident,
but right now,
we'll see though.
Well, I'm not hugely confident, but it's, you know, it's still the same as we got to compete, because Todd Monken said it best. We don't even have the pads on yet. So when the pads get on, that's when we're really going to find out. Right now we're in install. But when the pads come on, then we'll know.
Our mindsets are a little bit different on the Browns cornerback room. I'm at the point where I feel like they're screwed. You're at the point where you're expecting the worst, but you're hoping for the best. So our mindsets are a little bit different in terms of how we're approaching this.
A little bit different in the approach, but as far as where they stand currently, before the pads are on, we're about the same place. But the future approach, that's where we're different.
Yeah. Because I don't think they have a good nickel at the moment. That's where we differ, but our approach is pretty much the same. But I've got the Chargers winning. I'm going to go 28-17. I think if Slater and Alt are healthy, the Chargers can score 28 on the Browns, as good as their defense is. And I think both these teams are going to try to run the ball, play keep away from each other. I've got one more Sunday night game, and then we'll get to Williams' playoff winners. And we'll get to Joey's playoff winners.
The only problem I have with that is that it's the Chargers.
They have two blue chip left tackles. Miles Garrett's
they're still the Chargers. But they're still the Chargers.
Doesn't matter.
They're going to find a way to mess it up.
They're playing the Browns, and they're going to mess it up in the divisional round. The Chargers have a card game eventually. They're going to mess it up. But they're not
That's great logic, Chris.
They have to mess it up.
That's great logic. Now, here's my question to you. If they would lose to the Browns in this scenario, what do you think happens to the Chargers coaching staff?
I don't know what's going to happen to the coaching staff, but the Chargers have Mike McDaniel. I don't think they're going to lose in this situation. McDaniel's due for a playoff win as well after losing a heartbreaker to the Chiefs and a heartbreaker to the Bills with Skylar Thompson. He's due for a playoff win.
You're hedging your bets on the Chargers have got to win sometime.
I am, because I have more. I think Justin Herbert's a top 5 quarterback, and I think Shedeur could be a star eventually, but it's probably going to be in 27 or 28. It's not, I think he'll do enough to get them to the playoffs this year, but I feel like the Browns still lack a few pieces to be that complete team. They have addressed a lot of needs. They're heading in the right direction.
I agree with you. It's just hard to put faith in the Chargers to do anything except for lose on a last-second field goal.
I think the Browns are the one team they could beat in this field. I'm not saying maybe the Bengals too, but outside of those two teams, I don't think there's a team they match up well. FC. Well, we'll see. I think the Chargers have the advantage here. They should win, but they haven't won a playoff game. I think the last playoff game they won was when they had Phillip Rivers, and I think it was in the 2018-2019 season during Lamar's rookie year. That was the last time they won a playoff game. So it's been a while. They're due for a. It's been 7 years since they won a playoff game, and they only made it to the divisional round that year. So I think they're due for a playoff win. And I think the only way they can get it is if they get the 2 seed. And if Josh Allen doesn't win the MVP, my pick to win MVP, my second pick, would be Justin Herbert. I think Herbert is going to be the Josh Allen's competition for the MVP this season. So, yes, I have Justin Herbert making a serious push for MVP. That's why I've got the Chargers at 11-6, and that's why I have them winning a playoff game. Now, I'm going to get to the Sunday night game is Eagles-Bears. This Sunday night will either be Eagles-Bears or Packers-Giants. I think if NBC had to pick between these two games, they would pick Bears. Caleb Williams versus Super Bowl champion Jalen Hurts. I just think that sells more. And I had the Broncos at 10-7, but they lost out to the Browns for the last wild card. I had the Ravens at 9-8. I had the Commanders at 9-8. They missed the playoffs, and I had the Lions at 9-8. Detroit sports have peaked, Joey. Before I go off on a tangent, William, I'm going to make the argument that Detroit sports have peaked. My thought process is very simple. Tarek Skubal is getting a trade from the Detroit Tigers. Tarek Skubal's going to get traded since the Detroit Tigers are in last place. Detroit Red Wings captain Dylan Larkin requested a trade yesterday, and Yzerman's like, oh, we're not trading Dylan Larkin unless we get a premium return back. He's our captain. He signed his contract. He's got to honor that contract. And when you make a contract and a commitment to the team, you are the team's property until your contract runs out. So while Andrew Berry does right by his players, he basically wants to control the terms and conditions of the contract unless he gets a better return. So, yeah, because I don't think Barry wanted to trade Myles Garrett, but he got a blue-chip edge rusher and multiple draft picks back. So that played a factor, and he knew Garrett didn't want to be there, so he did right by Myles. So we'll see how it plays out, but yeah. Oh, and the Pistons got the 1 seed in the NBA playoffs. That's not going to happen again. As good as Cade Cunningham is, I don't think the Pistons can get the 1 seed in the NBA again. Because they have the former Cavs head coach who got fired and replaced by Kenny Atkinson, I believe, Joey. But yeah, the Pistons, I think Detroit's going to lose the Bears on Thanksgiving in their own stadium. I have the Lions. I think the Lions peaked when they lost the Niners. And then they went 15-2 and got the 1 seed. That was their peak, William. That 2-year period was their peak. So I just think the whole city of Detroit as a sports city has peaked. Well, Tigers' best pitcher is about to be traded. Red Wings captain wants to be traded since he was a 2014 first-round pick. Hasn't made the playoffs with the Red Wings. The Red Wings had a 26-year streak of making the playoffs. Now they're on a 10-year playoff drought, which is longest in the NHL. The Pistons had the 1 seed, and I just don't see them getting that again with how good the Knicks are. And yeah, you look at the Lions. I think the city of Detroit has peaked. That's why I ended up giving the Bears the last playoff spot. Or I gave the Niners the last playoff spot. And I had the Rams at 8 and 9. Now, if they beat Seattle in Week 18, they're probably in. But, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams, they're a competitive team. They will be with Sean McVay. They get all these shiny new free agents and trades,
Eagles,
and
Bears,
and things like that. But, yeah.
I think Caleb's better, but Hurts has a Super Bowl. Running back is also a push. Saquon's the best running back, but I think the Bears 1-2 punch of Swift and I think their 1-2 punch of Swift and Monangai is better. Receiver is also a push because the Bears traded DJ Moore, the Eagles traded AJ Brown. The Bears have Cole Met and Colson Loveland. The Eagles have Dallas Goedert and Eli Stowers. I got to give the Bears the advantage at tight end, William. I just do. As much as I like the Eagles tight ends, the Bears are going to have the advantage at tight end. Offensive line is a push. I love both these offensive lines. Defensive line, I'm going to give the Eagles the advantage here. Jalen Carter, Moro Ajomo in the final year of his rookie deal, and then Jordan Davis. I'm going to give the Eagles the advantage there. I'm also going to give the Eagles the advantage. They got Jonathan Greener to pair with Nolan Smith at edge rusher. And then the cornerback, this is tough because I really like what the Bears did and improve their secondary, but I feel like the Eagles still have – well, the Eagles did lose Reed Blankenship to the Texans. So secondary is kind of a push. So I've got 2 for the Eagles, 1 for the Bears, and then the kicker, I've got 3-1 Eagles. So I'm going to give the Eagles a 23-17 victory over the Bears. It's going to be very close because these teams are very even on paper.
Yeah, on paper, but how about on the coaching thing? Ben Johnson has come to the Bears, and
I like Ben Johnson more than Nick Sirianni, but Sirianni is a Super Bowl, and I don't see the Eagles losing 2 home playoff games in a row.
Well, I don't think the Bears are trying to prove something after they came on at the end of last year, and watching that Niners game.
Well, their offensive coordinator is Press Taylor. Press Taylor was god-awful in Jacksonville. You can ask Joey about that. He will. They replaced Declan Doyle, who's now the Ravens offensive coordinator, with Press Taylor, the former Jags offensive coordinator. So I think Press Taylor is going to have a role in the Bears' regression this year. Because remember, the Eagles had a shitty offensive coordinator after they won the Super Bowl, and that's the biggest reason your Niners got out of the first round. So,
yeah,
having a shitty offensive coordinator can derail a franchise.
Let me tell you, man, this NFC is looking pretty loaded, though. I mean,
it is. Let's get to your winners. I'll save the Packers here for the end. I want to get through the rest of Williams' wild card games. He took the Seahawks over the Buccaneers in the 6v3 matchup. We'll save Broncos Chiefs for Monday Night Football. So the Fox game will be the game that airs on Sunday. So your choices. I'm guessing Rams Giants would be the Sunday night game. 2 big market games. That would be the NBC game. Lions Panthers would be the game Tom Brady would be stuck calling. And I said all the Detroit sports teams have peaked this decade. The Pistons peaked. They got the 1 seed in the NBA this year. The Tigers are about to trade their starting pitcher, who's a UFA, Tarek Skubal, and the Red Wings captain, Dylan Larkin, wants a trade. And now you got the Lions. Even if they win the division, the Lions are basically the last thing that's keeping the city from Detroit from maintaining that consistent level. Yes. So I think Detroit peaked.
Right.
That's why I picked them to miss the playoffs. And I do have some news on the Lions. Kendrick Law, the receiver out of Auburn that I had graded higher than Isaac Tesla, he tore his Achilles at practice this morning. So he's already been ruled out for the season, a non-contact injury. So all of a sudden, the Lions' depth looks a lot worse than the Panthers' depth at receiver. So
Yeah, for sure. And I like what the Panthers did at receiver. You know, Chris Brazell, I think, can be a pretty good number 2. You know, and Xavier Legette is very underrated. I mean, he has just the size,
Yeah.
the size advantage. You know, he's 6'3", 220. I mean, he's a lot to stop, man. But you know, I mean, I don't think the Panthers can really win this one. It would be a Cinderella story, you know, if they could.
I mean,
I like
Ikwan
that,
tore
man.
his Achilles against the Rams at left tackle. So you've got you got
Yeah,
Rasheed Walker starting in relief of him, and he's just gonna get
yeah,
slaughtered by Aiden Hutchinson. Bryce Young's not gonna have a lot
yeah.
of time to
It's
throw, as much as I'd like to see the Panthers win as well. So you're
yeah,
gonna go with the Lions. We'll get to Joey's playoff picks now that he's back at the house. We'll get his playoff winners for all the games except Patriots for Browns. That'll be the Monday night game in his bracket. But let's get to your Sunday afternoon game. You've got the Chargers and the Bengals in Cincinnati. Who do you like in this matchup? It's a 7 seed versus a 2 seed.
well,
So,
it's the same thing, you know, that I mentioned before with the Bengals is all they do is flash, and that's about it. You know, they've had some injuries, obviously, but they've never really done anything, you know, having arguably the best wide receiver in the league.
yeah, and Joey's going
And
to roast whoever loses this game. That is not an opinion. That's a fact. If we get a Bengals-Chargers wild card game, Joey is roasting the loser regardless of who chokes in this game, and he's going to be about as unapologetic about it as Charles Barkley on Inside the NBA. But yeah.
Well, I think, you know, Harbaugh is doing his thing. You know, he's building this team from the inside out. You know, that's how I feel teams should be built in the first place.
It sounds like
You
you're
don't
going to
take
go with the
those
7
sexy,
seed to
flashy
pull the
picks.
upset.
I am, because I think that Harbaugh is going to show something. He's got a lot of players he likes. He got a Marion Hampton. I mean, this dude is good. You know, I was watching him last year and was like, there wasn't a whole lot of difference between him and number one, you know, and I think that the Chargers are gonna at least win one here.
All right, so William has his first divisional round game confirmed. As you can tell, the Bills are going to play the Chiefs in my bracket. The Chargers are going to play the Patriots in my bracket in the 6v2 game. In William's bracket, we have the 7 seed Chargers going up against the 1 seed Bills. And we also have that's all we know at this point. Whoever the Chiefs beat the Broncos, the Patriots get home field again, and if the Broncos win, we get a rematch of last year's AFC Championship with a healthy Bo Nix in Denver. So regardless of how that game turns out, and then we get to Williams' final Sunday night game, which you have, that would be Rams-Giants. It'd be the Rams with Myles Garrett going up against Jackson Dart, Andrew Thomas.
Yeah, you know, Joe Schoen, I'm not sure what he did, but he was definitely on a hot seat, and I like what he's done in the last few drafts. You know, he put Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo together, and I mean, it like made him whole, you know. And Scatterbo will be back. I mean, he's tough as hell, you know.
John Harbaugh and the assistant GM were making most of the decisions for the Giants in the draft.
Yeah.
Whereas ownership and the scouting department basically sent Joe Schoen to the kids' table. You know, the kids' table where you get punished.
Yeah.
You get like You get like crayons and shit.
Yeah.
You're eating dinner. You're not eating dinner at the grown-ups table. The Giants have basically sent Joe Schoen to the kids' table.
Yeah. And
They
well,
know he's under contract. They respect him enough not to fire him, but they're not giving him any responsibilities. Simply stuck at the kids' table.
well, yeah, and that's just Harbaugh taking over what he knows. He's very capable of doing that. And I mean, he had to. The Giants were drafting terribly, man. Terribly.
You missed the best part,
But
Joey. I was making jokes
but
about
now,
Joe Schoen being at the kids' table.
I've been listening.
Okay,
All
right.
But the thing that I want people to remember about the Rams right now, people are saying Myles Garrett's going to be different with the Rams. No, he's not. He's been the same for the last 7 years, done the same things every offseason, acted the same way. There is nothing that's going to change. Okay, Myles is Myles. So Rams fans, everything that people were saying negative about him when he was with the Browns because he was unhappy, going to be saying the same thing in a positive light with the Rams because Myles ain't changing. Myles is Myles, and Myles is a dinosaur. He's going to do what he wants, and you're happy.
I absolutely agree with that. You know, Myles Garrett, he came in. There were questions about saying he wasn't that athletic. He wasn't the Julius Peppers type. This and that. I remember before he was drafted, but he's come into this league. You know, he's done nothing. You know, I mean, he is just a plain professional at what he does, and he is very, very good at it. You know, but the Rams have added so many players that would just like that. And they're still the Rams, you know, they're competitive as hell. They're generally in the playoffs, but what are they doing? You know, I'm gonna go with
I
the
think the
Giants
Rams
here,
defense
you know,
will be
and
elite
I
this
just like
year.
that too much. And yeah, exactly.
I think
They're gonna
the
have
offense
something to
will
back
take
it
a
up.
step back to miss the playoffs. I have the Rams at 8-9. I think the offense takes a step back this year, but the defense wins probably 7 or 8 of their games.
Yeah, and whatever they're doing with Ty Simpson and that whole thing, Stafford is going to pick his time to retire, and who knows?
I do have something on that. With
All
the
right.
Ty Simpson thing, they did it because, from what I understand, the Myles Garrett trade was being talked about up until the draft, and the Rams had a pretty good
Yeah.
clue round pick next year, so they jumped the gun and took Ty Simpson this year with the expectation that they weren't going to have a first round pick next year.
Yeah, and they would still have a year to develop it. It would give Ty Simpson, you know, Ty Simpson in college was pretty average. I obviously don't think he was worthy of a first round grade. He's going to be another one of those quarterbacks, but it's like, who is he? You know, he's a quarterback, but who is he? What has he done? He was a quarterback for Alabama. What has he done? And I think that says everything right there. The Rams think they can develop him. Good luck to him. I hope it works well. You know, I mean, that's how you should develop a quarterback. You know, and they gave him that year. And but like I said, I think the Giants are going to win.
Before we break down my final playoff game and Williams' final play, Joey caught up on every wild card game except for Browns Patriots. That'll be your Monday night game. You'll get to break that game down and tell me why I'm wrong or why I'm overthinking things with the Browns at the very end. But we'll save that game for Monday night. And I'm going to start Joey off with Chiefs Bengals because that's the one wild card game we agree on. So that's the first game on the slate Saturday afternoon. William and I both think the Bengals, they're built for the regular season, but not the playoffs with this roster. And I've got the Bengals hosting the Chiefs and the Chiefs winning. William also does pick the Chargers over the Bengals. So that shows a lack of confidence in the Bengals.
I've got the Chiefs over the Bengals. The Chiefs are built for the long haul. The Bengals are not. It's just based on how the teams are built. The Bengals are
Yeah.
built to run a sprint, and the Chiefs are built to run a marathon, and it shows. Now the Bengals have improved defensively, so they might put up more of a fight than you would expect at this point in time. But I think the Chiefs are going to outlast them.
Yep.
Definitely agree with that, man. I mean, the Chiefs, Andy Reid proved all the way back to the early 2000s, going to the championship game 4 years in a row with the Eagles, but never winning it. He never had that star wide receiver. He never had a few things. He was right there. He never had a very accurate quarterback, but he was suitable. But like you said, the Chiefs just keep reloading and the Bengals.
I could see the
What are
Bengals
the
making
Bengals
a
doing?
push at like Super Bowl 63 in 2 years from now if they keep drafting well, but they're not quite there yet. They're not there yet. They need a little bit more time. I don't know how much more time they'll get.
Their coach is still young. He had success, coming in. And
they're not built to win a marathon this year. They might be in 2 years.
I'm not
from
sure.
Now, but they're not right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure their coaching is quite up to par as it could be. That they went that young route. I mean, that can be very, very good for some of these guys. But what have they done? What has Zach Taylor done? And yeah, they went to and beat the Chiefs and then lost the Super Bowl. I mean,
I have got a. We'll put. Bears Packers was on Amazon Prime last year, so we'll make that the Sunday night game. Browns Patriots will be the Monday night game on ESPN. So Amazon Prime gets Rams Eagles because Tom Brady already called this game. So Fox has to settle for Buccaneers Lions. So yeah, we'll do Lions Eagles next. Who do you like in this matchup, Joey?
I like the Rams, and I like them mainly for their defense. We will have to look at how much Myles Garrett has worn down because we do know he wears down a lot by the end of the year. But I think the Rams are in a position to where they might be able to rest him a little bit more because it doesn't matter who he plays for. He's going to get triple teamed every game. He's Myles Garrett.
I agree.
So he's going to get tired, but how much can they rest him and how? Because remember, the Rams offense is good. The Rams offense is going to put up points. So they don't need Myles out there every play to hold the Eagles offense. So we're going to see how well that works, but I think the Rams, either way, are going to have enough to get by the Eagles.
Yeah, and night games are usually less snowy than day games. And that doesn't mean this game can't be snowy again, but my gut's telling me if these teams play in prime time at an 8 p.m. time slot, I don't think it'll be snowy like the 1 p.m. game where the Eagles beat the Rams in their Super Bowl run. So that's why I think the Rams would have a better chance at winning this time around. But then the next game is Lions-Buccaneers. I went on a rant about how Detroit sports had peaked. The Tigers peaked. Scooble's probably gone. The Red Wings peaked. Their captain wants to trade. The Pistons, where they were the 1 seed this year, they couldn't beat the Cavs. They peaked. And I think the Lions peaked. That's why I have them missing the playoffs at 9-8. So has the city of Detroit peaked, or do they get an upset win over Baker Mayfield, who's in a contract year? This is the 1 p.m. game for Sunday.
I'm going to take Tampa Bay because I think Baker is best with his back against the wall, and I think Detroit's going to come into the playoffs, a little bit of momentum, and they're going to say Detroit's going to win the game, Detroit's going to be favored, and Baker's going to take offense to that. And we all know when Baker takes offense to something, that's when he plays his best. So I think that's what's going to happen here.
Yep. And
I agree with that.
I agree.
I did have him losing, I think. Well, but it was to the Seahawks, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Baker, he will play good enough in the regular season and get them there because he is in a contract year. And like you said, when somebody doubts him, when somebody says, "Oh yeah, well he's not that good," Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, they're better, out of that draft. It's like, no, man. It's like they can't match his heart. If you took Baker Mayfield's heart and put it in Josh Allen's body, my God, I mean, that would be the end all be all of all quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So I think he will get paid. I mean, like I said, I do have him losing in the first round, but whatever he does in the regular season is going to be good enough to get him where he wants to be.
Yeah, this is going to sound like a horrible analogy, but Josh Allen's like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon. Baker's like Mel Gibson in Braveheart. And Braveheart was the role where Mel Gibson showed the most heart. That's why I made that analogy. It's kind of cheesy, but yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, Riggs. I still love Riggs. That first movie, man, it's just that crazy. Yeah. But Braveheart, definitely, man. That was the heart. That was everything. I mean, now we just have to figure out who Mad Max is going to be. The original Mel Gibson.
Agreed.
He's not a clone, man.
He's not.
A clone of a clone just isn't quite as sharp as the original sometimes.
And then this next wild card game on CBS, it is the Broncos and the Jaguars in Jacksonville. I don't see the Jags losing 2 in a row, but at the same time,
I do.
I think the Broncos are a better team on paper.
Very much.
I think this will be an emotional game for Jacksonville because remember, the Jaguars are not going to be playing in Jacksonville next year. So I think the Jags are going to come out. They're going to want to win a home playoff game.
I think they're going to win in Orlando. That's the caveat. I think they're going to win a playoff game in Orlando next year. Okay. They're not going to win this year. They're going to win in Orlando. And then they're going to go back.
I've got the Jags winning this game. It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. The fans are going to be into it. It's going to be a great, great game for television. And everything is going to align for this one game.
Yeah.
The one thing I have to say about that is Trevor Lawrence and what did you say? Emotional? I don't think that's like an oxymoron. Like,
well, he cut his hair, so we'll see how it goes.
Oh, he did. That's like a female, man. When they dye their hair, when they cut their hair, they're over something. So maybe you're right, man.
Something happened.
And then the Sunday night game is Packers-Bears. It's a rematch of last year's wild card between 7v2.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a close game. But I think the Bears are improved. And I think they're going to end up winning this game.
Yep, so as you guys can see, we've got Niners, Rams, Bears, Buccaneers. We will get to Joey's predictions for Patriots, Browns in a little bit. I'm going to go over my final game. That is Packers, Giants. I'm going to give the Packers the advantage at quarterback. I'm going to give the Giants the advantage at running back, though, because I think the Giants have more depth at the position. And I think Scadaboo's going to be a breakout star. The Packers extended Christian Watson. They've extended Jaden Reed. They've got Matthew Golden. But I just think the Giants have the advantage at receiver. Tight end, I'm going to go with the Packers. I think the Packers have the tight end advantage. Offensive line, I think this is a lot closer than people think. But I'm going to play devil's advocate and take the Giants. And then, so it's 3-2 Giants. I'm going to go defensive line. My defensive line is going to be the Packers. Linebacker, I'm going to go Giants. Secondary, I'm going to go Packers. So it's 4-4, and this comes down to kicker. I don't trust either team's kicker. So I'm going to take the Packers just for the hell of it. But you could argue that I should take the Giants because it's that freaking close. I kind of suck because the only upsets I picked were Patriots and Chiefs, and I don't think I was that big of an upset. Patriots over an 8-9 Texans team and the Chiefs over a Bengals team. Those are neither of those. I don't consider either of those upsets, despite them being the lower seeds. So, yeah. And as you guys can see, I'll break down these divisional games in a bit, but I'm going to get back to Joey. I'm going to let him rant about the Patriots-Browns. Probably, I feel like he's going to pick the Browns, but it's a lot closer, and it's a lot tougher of a decision because of the cornerback issues I mentioned and because the Patriots traded for AJ Brown.
I'm going to set the story for you. I'm going to set the story for you. Minute and a half to go. Andre Schmidt, Baker Mayfield leads the Browns down the field. Tie game. Not Baker Mayfield, Shadur Sanders, sorry. Leads the Browns down the field. Andre Schmidt, balls up, balls through. Minute 15 seconds left, tie game. Patriots come back down the field. Browns stop them, but there are 10 seconds left. 45-yard field goal. It's up. No good. We're going to overtime. We are going to overtime in prime time.
So Andre Schmidt makes a field goal because Schmidt's a scrub kicker compared to Borregales, the Patriots kicker. I like Schmidt, but I felt like he was a downgrade. He got better as the season progressed, but he felt like a downgrade over Hopkins.
He missed 2 field goals in the first game and only missed 1 for the next 17. So, I mean,
Borregales, though, he was a really good kicker as a rookie, which is hard to say. I don't think he'd miss a field goal in that situation. So that's the only problem I have with your
Now, the situation comes up. We're in overtime. First 2 possessions for each team, they trade field goals.
Yeah.
Then, as much as Cleveland has done this year, the nickel corner situation, as Chris said, comes back to bite them. Touchdown Patriots, Patriots move on. Browns lose.
But I agree. It would be a 3 to 6 point win for New England if these if they met. I agree entirely. It would be, and I said on Under the Bleachers, there's 3 teams that have the defense that hold New England to under 20 points: the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bills. And luckily for the Patriots, they only have to get through one of those defenses. But I've got Patriots-Bills in my AFC title game. We'll break down some more of these divisional round games. But you look at, we'll go back to, and William, your Monday night game was, you had Chiefs-Broncos. I'm guessing you like Denver in that one?
All right. So, yeah, I mean, this is a definite young team, but Bo Nix is going to be aching for what could have been last year. I mean, they had about everything to actually go to the Super Bowl. I don't think they would have won it because, Seattle was kind of playing buzzsaw right there. And unless maybe the Bills got there, but the Bills have just a little bit more experience. Sean Payton, he got, my number 2 running back, Jonah Coleman. He landed in such a good spot. I mean, he's going to break out, and I'm thinking, this year, because only J.K. Dobbins is what on the team, and he's always hurt. And this is another Dobbins type back that's going to turn Harvey into a third down back, if that. I mean, he is very athletic. He is very everything. The Broncos have the receivers. They got the tight ends.
Yeah.
I definitely like them in this divisional rivalry matchup. Which in these games, no matter what the team's records are, in the AFC West, it's going to be such a close game because the rivalries are just fierce. But I will take the Broncos in this one for sure. Nick's has that taste in his mouth, and we'll see.
Yep, indeed. So the first game is going to be we'll save Bills Chiefs for prime time. That is going to be a Saturday game because I have the Chiefs and Patriots and the I have the Patriots in the first two wild card games. So logistically, I'm looking at this and saying, all right, Packers played on Monday night, so that's the Sunday game. So we will start with Eagles-Seahawks. That'll be the 4:25 game for the divisional round. The two bird teams that won the last two Super Bowls. Two teams that my brother cannot stand more than any other team in the league. I've got the Eagles getting blown out by Seattle. They blow out the Eagles the same way they blew out the Niners. 42-21, and the Seahawks continue their path to the NFC title game. I would give the Eagles the advantage at running back, but QB's a push. The receiver, I definitely like Seattle with their receiver depth. Tight end, I'll go Eagles. Offensive line, is a push. Defensive line, I'd go Eagles. Pass rush, I'm leaning Eagles, but special teams and defensive backs, I like Seattle. That does make this kind of a coin flip, but I just think Seattle's going to want Philadelphia in the pants, and they're gonna. So,
yeah, that's been kind of the thing about the Eagles.
Yeah, and then the next game is Bills Chiefs. I think this is Josh Allen's year. I told William last year he was a year early on Josh Allen, but Josh Allen is going to have to go through Drake May, and he's going to have to go through Mahomes to get to the Super Bowl. Then he's going to have to probably go through his draft mate or Darnold. He's going to have to go through one of the QBs in his draft class to win the big game. That's going to be the Josh Allen Super Bowl arc. He's going to have to go through Mahomes. He's going to have to go through Drake May. I love it. And he's going to have to go through either Baker or Sam Darnold, one of the QBs in his draft class, to win the big game.
Yeah.
Well, the Bills traded up with the Buccaneers to get Allen in the 2018 draft. And the Seahawks are the defending Super Bowl champions. Darnold was also drafted ahead of Allen in that draft.
I think that it's going to, if the Bills don't make it to the Super Bowl this year, I think Sean McDermott's on an awfully short leash.
Well, Sean McDermott got fired. They replaced him with Joe Brady.
Oh, shit. It already happened.
Joe Brady, Tom Brady,
Joe Brady's a little bit young, but
Joe Brady would keep Seattle from repeating again. History would repeat itself.
Yeah, and Joe Brady's been there, man. Joe Brady's been there.
He won a championship with Joe Burrow at LSU. And I think the Bills are due to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. I just do. Brand new stadium. QB advantage is a push. Running back, I think it's a push as well. Receiver, I'm going to go Bills here. Tight end, I'm going to go Chiefs. Offensive line, I'm going to go Chiefs. Defensive line, I'm going to go Bills. It's 2-2. There's 3 positions left. Linebacker, I'm going to go Bills. Secondary, I'm going to go Bills again. And kicker, I'll go with the Chiefs. So that's a 4-3 Bills advantage. And I've got the Bills winning this game 24-23. Chiefs lead by 6. Josh Allen rallies the Bills with 7 seconds left, like James Bond 007. And the Bills lead by 1 with 7 seconds left in the game. It's going to be possible for Mahomes to get a field goal in 7 seconds if the Chiefs have no timeouts. And they burn all their timeouts on the defensive drive trying to stop the Bills. So that's going to be pretty hard. And Mahomes beat Allen with only 12 seconds left, trailing him in the 22 playoffs.
Dude, I remember that, and I I watched that game and it just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was like whoever had the ball last, it was still one of those things, just taking turns. Whoever got the ball
This
was
game
going
will
to
be
win.
like
I
that
mean, they
game,
were
but both teams will try to
flat out
control the
swinging
game
it,
on the
man.
ground. And I think the Bills will
That
do
was like
more
Purdy
to
and
win.
Caleb Williams last year.
Yeah, it was.
Ooh.
And the Bills will do just enough to win, and they'll beat the Chiefs 24-23. This is the only 1-point game in my bracket. And then we
I
get
like
to
it.
Sunday. Let's get to your games and Joey's games before we get to the Sunday games. All right, so divisional, you've got the Chargers and the Bills. The Chargers, you had them playing on Sunday, so Chargers-Bills is a Sunday game for you. That means the Patriots would play the Broncos, but the Broncos were a Monday night game, so Bills-Chargers would be a Saturday game. You had the Seahawks. Seahawks-Niners would be the first game of the divisional round for you, and I know you're taking your Niners. They're not losing to Seattle 2 years in a row, are they?
No, they're absolutely not. What happened in this last draft, I know what they were doing. That they were building depth because they didn't pick one starter, not one. All these guys, the situational pass rusher, but one of the best in the draft in Romello Height. But he's done everything standing up. Like I said, Raheem Morris, kind of a 3-4 guy, but his nickel scheme is more 4-2-5. It's going to be interesting to see where they put them and where they put them, in having a NASCAR package, with Mikael Williams moving inside,
Yeah.
and Odigizua, I'm likely is there too because he's just a beast. And just hoping that everyone is healthy. They're not going to lose to Seattle. It's another one of those rivalry games, man.
So
They've got a bad taste in
I'm
their mouth.
guessing you've got the 2-1 seeds in the conference championship. You've got the Niners in the NFC championship, and you've got the Bills beating the 7-seed Chargers to host the AFC championship.
Yeah, and the Bills are just going to handle the Chargers. I mean, that's kind of what they do. And Josh Allen
could end up playing Bo Nix. Bo Nix, Burrow, Mahomes are all undefeated against Allen in the playoffs. He's going to have to beat someone who he's winless against to get to the Super Bowl. I think he'll get there this year, but he's going to have to beat someone he's winless against to get there.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's part of it. And Brady's going to try to be proven that he deserves that position, because he got bumped up once to offensive coordinator in Carolina, was it?
Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day this year, so it's going to be an AFC power couple versus the Power of Love. Power of Love could be Jordan Love. Power of Love could be Jeremiah Love. Power of Love could be Julian Love. I don't think it's going to be
Colson Loveland.
Cardinals. Could be Loveland too. You're right. Could be Loveland too.
I had to throw that in there, but Valentine's Day, man.
It's a haiku. It's a got from the sports book. An AFC power couple versus the Power of Love. The AFC power couple.
It's my pit bull's birthday, man.
It could be the Chiefs with Mahomes. It could be the Chiefs with Kels. It could be the Chargers with Herbert and Madison Beer. I don't think it could be the Chargers, by the way, but
yeah. But no, it's my pit bull's birthday, Valentine's Day. So I've got the Power of Love in here, and yeah. We'll make it work.
All right, Power of Love. I like it. The Back to the Future reference. But yes, Joey, let's see what your divisional round looks like. I'll pull out the screen here. I will provide some updates on the finals for the NBA, the Stanley Cup. That'll be after, though. I want to get through this NFL stuff, and then we'll do that at the very end, and then we'll call it a day. So, again, I'm going to pull up Joey's divisional round here. So, since the Browns and Patriots was the last game, that's a Sunday game, which means the Saturday game in Joey's bracket. Let's look here. You had Rams-Niners will be a Saturday game. The other Saturday game will be Chiefs-Jaguars. So, the schedule makers are probably going to put Chiefs-Jaguars in the Saturday afternoon slot, and they're probably going to put Rams-Niners in prime time. Because even though it's a division rivalry, and the NFL always puts division rivalries at night when they play in the playoffs. So I would think logistically, with the Patriots coming off a Monday night win, they would get the Sunday night game against the Bills. And Buccaneers-Bears would be the Sunday afternoon game. Chiefs-Jags would be the Saturday afternoon game. So I'm guessing you're going Chiefs and Rams here, Joey, for these first two games. Jaguars, Chiefs, and Rams-Niners. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has a chance to avenge his playoff loss to Patrick Mahomes during his MVP season. But I also think the Chiefs just have too many pieces, and that's going to be the Josh Allen arc. And there was an image with Myles Garrett, Matthew Stafford, and Josh Allen at the back of the Super Bowl 61 photo. Last year, Sam Darnold and Drake May were at the very front of the Super Bowl 60 photo in San Francisco. But the Super Bowl 61 photo in LA, it has Josh Allen and Matthew Stafford and Myles Garrett in the very back. So if it's not Buffalo, Seattle, and the Seahawks miss the playoffs and the Rams get in, it might be Bills-Rams. That might be a hit. Because the NFL, sometimes they throw away these subtle but not so obvious hints. And nobody guessed it was going to be Seahawks-Patriots, even though the NFL planted subliminal messaging with Drake May and Sam Darnold at the front of the Super Bowl trophy at the beginning of the year.
Well, maybe that's why I picked up a little bit of something with the Patriots. Maybe it was something subliminal. You know, I don't know, but it definitely happened, and I knew they were going to be there.
And this year, Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford are in the back. So maybe this year's Super Bowl features the two players in the back instead of the two players in the front. Maybe that's the haiku. Maybe that's the riddle the NFL subliminally giving away.
Yeah. You know,
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it's a possibility. So Jags Chiefs is a tough game to pick because I think the Jags are a much better team than when they faced the Chiefs in Trevor Lawrence's second season. But at the same time, this is a tough game. I think whoever wins the Bills-Patriots game is going to be your AFC champion. I think those are the two best teams in the conference. But I think the Chiefs, Bills, and Patriots are the top three this year, Joey. But whichever team avoids the Bills will get to play the Bills in the AFC title, and whichever team doesn't avoid the Bills is going to lose to them in the divisional round. It's that simple. But this, I think, is a tough game to pick.
Joey, is that a Steelers helmet in the background?
No, it was. It's a personal design. It's a personal design.
Oh.
It's matte black, gold stripe. I really do like
that Brown's block is above
face
Pittsburgh
mask in Colorado. I really like the gold face mask that Colorado uses. I really like the color matte black, and the gold stripe is just something because I'm very uniform, and I did not want to put something like a red stripe with the gold face mask or something on there, so I just uniformed it over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right.
And here's proof.
Because if I would have put any other color stripe on there, it would have drove me nuts.
Yep. And here is proof that the Browns own the Steelers. It's a joke. But here you can see Pittsburgh Pottery. I sent this to Joey this morning on Facebook. Here is Pittsburgh Pottery. They are a store that sells Yinzer Jagoff pottery. And here you see Brown's Block. Brown's Block is above Pittsburgh Pottery. Brown's Block. That's the name of the building.
Oh, I could see it.
So, 1883.
I could see that. Somebody trolling the Steelers. Just buy the building and put Brown's Block right over top of it.
There's your proof that the Browns own the Steelers.
Yeah, anyway.
Well, they've done a pretty good job over the last few years.
Yep. So, Jags Chiefs, this is a tough game for Joey to pick. I mean, I think the QB advantage goes to Mahomes. The running back advantage, I'd say, goes to the Chiefs. The receiver advantage, I'd give to the Jags. Tight end, Chiefs. Offensive line, I think the Jags have just as much depth in the offensive line as the Chiefs. I would go push here. I would actually go push, but I do have more confidence in Josh Simmons at left tackle.
This is a tough game, but the thing is, the Jags don't have a lot of experience in these moments, and the Chiefs do. I think the Jags overall are a more talented team than the Chiefs at this point, as far as raw talent goes. But there is no substitution for experience, and the Chiefs have a
Yeah, and
ton
without
of.
Devin Lloyd, they're not going to have that big pick six, that game-changing play that puts them over the top, like last year when they beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And Mahomes remembers that.
I want you to remember this: Josh Hines Allen. They're the top three.
Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker are
in
good
pressures. The last 2 years in pressures, the top three in the NFL: Myles Garrett, Josh Hines Allen, Jared Verse. Josh Hines Allen's number 2, so he's not going to make it easy on Mahomes. So that tells
Trayvon
me
Walker
that it's going to be a close game, but the Chiefs win.
I would give the Jags the defensive line advantage over the Chiefs if I were comparing the two rosters right now. We're in agreement on that. Linebacker, I'd go Chiefs. Secondary, I'd go. That's tough. Secondary is kind of a push, but I think the Chiefs win. But it's a game they have to earn. So Joey's picking the Chiefs
Exactly.
because I think it's gonna. I think the Bills are gonna get. Bills might do it this year, but they're gonna have to go through either Mahomes or they're gonna have to go through the Patriots, the defending AFC champions. They're gonna have to go through one of them to get to the AFC title game. We'll see, and then your Sunday after, and then the Saturday night game is Rams-Niners in San Francisco. I think he wanted to make the Rams the 1 seed, but the frickin' tiebreaker, with Seattle beating the Rams in Week 18, the frickin' tiebreaker gave the Niners the top seed. But I feel like in your heart, you always sort of had the Rams as the team to beat, and with frickin' Myles Garrett on the Rams, I feel like you're going to pick them for one more week. That may not mean they win the conference, but I feel like you're going to pick them to beat the Niners.
Yeah. And I am, because, and it's not just because of Garrett, because I think at this point, Myles is going to do what Myles always does. He's going to start shrinking back a little bit. He's going to make a couple big plays, but I think this win is going to be more on the back of the offense. I think that at this point is where Myles starts to show he put those triple teams that he is going to get with the Rams are once again going to wear, in spite of the Rams' best efforts. And I think Matthew Stafford just plays like Matthew Stafford and gets the Rams over the hump again this week.
All right. And now we'll get to my Sunday games. I already revealed that I got the Bills and the Seahawks in the conference title game. I've got the Bills beating the Chiefs 24-23 in a very close game where Josh Allen scores with 7 seconds left. Now we get Patriots-Chargers, and this is where the Chargers charger. They take a step up, barely beat the Browns 23-17, but they charger against the Patriots and lose 31-17. And the Patriots, I think whoever avoids the Bills between the Patriots and Chiefs, that's Josh Allen's opponent in the AFC title game. And the NFL could give us Allen Mahomes Part 3, or in the AFC title game Part 4 if we're counting all playoff games. But I think we're at the point where the NFL wants to give us something new. They want Allen versus a new opponent. And I'm guessing the new opponent will be the defending AFC champion Patriots. But I think whoever avoids the Bills between the Chiefs and Patriots, that's going to be the team Josh Allen has to get through to get to his first Super Bowl. And I've got the Patriots beating the Chargers. So the Chargers do charger, but they charger a week later than usual. And then the last game was the toughest game to pick for the divisional round games because power of love, I was tempted to take Green Bay in an upset over Tampa. But I think with Baker in a contract year, there's just a greater urgency for him to get to the NFC title game. There's just a greater urgency for Baker Mayfield to finally step up to the plate and get the Tampa Bay Buccaneers their first NFC title game since they had Tom Brady. Baker wants to stick around and get paid in Tampa. He wants $65 million a year. If he wants that, he has to show he can at least get this team to an NFC title game. And both Jordan Love and Baker are looking for that first NFC championship. And I think the Packers could be a strong player for Super Bowl 62. I feel that same way about the New York Giants. Right now, Ravens, Chargers, Giants, and Packers would be my top 4 for Super Bowl 62. For this season, I think the Packers and Chargers are the only 2 teams that sniff the second round. But they both show their potential to be a future Super Bowl candidate. But the urgency, the fire, the heart of Baker Mayfield, he just wants it more. And that's the difference in a very close game, 28-21 Buccaneers. So I've got Patriots, Bills, and I've got Seahawks, Buccaneers. And William, you've got Broncos. We'll save the. I'm not sure which game they would air on Sunday night between Broncos, Patriots, and Giants. Between Giants, Lions, and Giants, Lions would probably be the 3 p.m. game in that scenario. They'd probably air Broncos, Patriots in prime time, like at night on CBS. So
yeah, I'm guessing that just because of who they've been.
Yeah,
lately.
And because Bo Nix didn't get to play against Drake May, and they want to build up that game. They already had that game in the afternoon last year, so they'd have it at night this time around. So
well, without a doubt, Drake May is QB1 of that draft class. So there's just that.
So this game, you've got in this game you've got the Giants and Jackson Dart versus the Lions, and the winner plays your Niners for the NFC title.
Oh,
4 versus 2, NFC divisional round. I'm guessing you're going with the Giants here, but you do need some time to think about this.
Well, I'm not sure who the Lions are. Like, they played, but then Ben Johnson left and their offense changed, and it was kind of like, what really happened here? Can Dan Campbell, sustain what's going on? And I really don't think that happens. I mean, they do have the experience. I mean, Goff is a very experienced quarterback. He's been decent in the playoffs. I mean, he has taken the Rams to a Super Bowl. And I don't think the Giants are really ready. That's kind of the quagmire I'm having with what's going on.
So
I would like the upstart
get out
Giants to win, but and I think Cam Scatterbo, just like you, he really doesn't play so much like he will get hurt. That was a freak injury last year. I mean, he's not flat out running, not getting his knees really that taken out. I mean, he's a slow guy, but he is deliberate. He is, he's built like a bowling ball every time, but I'm not sure if they're ready.
Yeah. And this is very advantageous for your Niners because they beat Seattle. They either get a Lions team that has experience but doesn't have as many pieces, doesn't have the coaching they had when they played them in the NFC title, or they get a Giants team that's inexperienced. It's very advantageous for your Niners either.
And the Niners stopped the Lions from what they were doing. I mean, they're up like 24-3 at halftime or something, and the Niners just took them out in the second half.
I basically I remember telling Joey when the Lions were up big that Niners are going to come back. Just watch. They're going to come back in the second half because
I'm going to pull actually a switchback. I am going to take this. Goff and them, they have something to prove. To try to go up against the Niners in the championship game. And that's kind of what everything is coming down to in these games is somebody with something to prove, and can they?
Yeah, so you are going to take the Giants
No,
to lose.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Take the Giants,
You're
lose.
changing your pick. That's what you meant.
Yes, sir.
And then the final game that you have is Broncos Patriots in Denver with Bo Nix starting this time around versus last year.
Well, yeah, and that's another thing. Just like I was saying, man, it's going to come down to that will. And I know Bo Nix is that good and everything else, but I also feel Drake May's kind of mad about last year and what happened. I mean,
And the
they were
Patriots, they
well on
got
their
more
way.
weapons.
You know, they were
As
well
much
on
as I
their
like
way.
the Broncos defense, the Broncos have 3 really good corners, and they've got Barron, they've got a 4th good corner. They do have,
Yeah.
I guess they do have the personnel to limit this offense, but I don't think it's just going to come down to, both defenses are going to give both Knicks and May problems.
Yeah,
But
for
who
sure.
can do more to overcome it?
It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a very hard fought game. Will Campbell is going to have to step up, and I will take the Patriots. It's just that simple. I think they have the better quarterback. Not that
Yeah.
there's not like I've said before, there's not a single trait that Bo Nix has that Dre Make doesn't have better, but
Yeah.
Nix is still right there.
Yeah.
He's good. He can play. That's not a knock against him. It's just the truth. But he's going to be mad about last year. But so is May. And I'll take the Patriots.
All right, so William's going Patriots, Bills. William and I have
You'll
the
take
same
pictures?
AFC title game.
Where are you taking pictures from?
Patriots, not pictures. William and I are both
I
taking
thought he said he was
Patriots and
taking
Bills.
pictures, and I'm like, what pictures are you taking?
No.
Okay.
But yes, Joey, we're gonna get back to your bracket right now. We'll fill out the final 2 games. So we'll save the Bills Patriots game for the end, and then the Bears Buccaneers game, Baker versus Caleb. Winner of that gets to host the Rams in the NFC title. And that will be the early game of the NFC title. Since Patriots Broncos was the early game last year, rotates every year. So whoever wins this gets to host Stafford in the NFC title game.
Yeah, I'm going with Bills. I don't think this is going to be a close game. It's like the Patriots went to the
Well, we're going
Super
to go
Bowl
Bills
last
Patriots.
year.
That's the second game.
Well,
Buccaneers Bears is going to be the first game.
okay, I'm going to take the Buccaneers.
All right. So, and yeah, I figured. I think it is Buffalo's year too,
Yeah,
Joey.
because
here's
the thing.
I'll say.
Here's the thing. The Patriots went to the Super Bowl last year, yet they came in this year and barely squeaked by the Browns, who are inexperienced. Now, you go against a more experienced Buffalo team with an angry Josh Allen, probably not something you're going to have a good day with. So I think
Josh Allen's path to the Super Bowl is going to come down to he's going to have to play Drake May, the defending AFC champion. He's going to have to play Mahomes. And I initially had Mahomes losing to Allen in this spot initially, and then I changed it to Drake May because the NFL might want something new, and the NFL might want to test Allen early in the playoffs by having him beat Mahomes in the divisional round. But I think we came to the same conclusion for the AFC and NFC title games. But Baker versus Stafford, you've got Baker versus Stafford. I've been telling you. Because my initial Super Bowl 61 pick was Bills over Buccaneers. I switched it to Bills over Seattle. But initially, I've been saying, because the Bills were traded up for Josh Allen with Tampa Bay in the 2018 draft, he's either going to play Darnold, the defending champion, or he's going to play Baker. And he's going to play one of his quarterback classmates from that 2018 draft and win his first Super Bowl in LA. That's what I've been saying is going to happen with Allen for a while now. But Joey's going with Chiefs, Bills over the Patriots. Probably, I know they blew out the Patriots 45-14 with Mac Jones. I'm guessing this will be like a 31-17, 31-20 game where the Bills win by double digits. But it's... All right. let's get to our conference championship picks. NFC title game. I have the wild card game. William had Seahawks Buccaneers in the wild card with Tampa Bay losing to Seattle. That is what I have this year. And I went with Seattle because I just think they're experienced. I think Reuben Bain Jr. is going to have double-digit sacks and win Defensive Rookie of the Year. And that's going to take a lot of pressure off of Baker Mayfield. Baker might want it more. But I'm going to go Seattle 23, Tampa Bay 17. I think Seattle just does a little bit more than Tampa to get back to the Super Bowl, and that's the difference. And then I will go with 31-24 Bills over New England. Pains me to do this as a Patriot fan, but the realist in me knows that if the Patriots get back to the AFC title game, it's because they avoided the Chiefs and they avoided the Bills. And they drew the Chargers and the Texans. They drew the 8-9 Texans, they drew the Chargered in the divisional round. After Herbert pushed Allen for MVP all season, they chargered in the divisional round. It's the only reason they got there. That's the realist in me saying the Bills are going to win. So that sets up a Bills-Seahawks. And I initially did have Bills-Buccaneers, but I think Allen's going to win his first Super Bowl. He's going to defeat a quarterback in his draft class in the biggest game of the year, but he's going to have to get by this year's AFC champ, Drake May in New England. He's going to have to get by Mahomes. Whether it's the divisional round AFC championship, I don't think that matters. I think that's part of the Josh Allen Super Bowl arc. That's what I'm saying is going to happen this year. And let's get to William. You've got the Niners and the Lions in the NFC title game.
Man, I was just sitting here thinking, I don't know, man. I'm in a hell of a quagmire here. What happened a few years ago was just because, the Lions did Lions kind of things, and I'm not sure that they have gotten better since. In fact, Ben Johnson has left, so
and Dan Campbell's very impulsive on fourth down, almost to a fault. When he gets those conversions, people don't say anything, but when he doesn't get them, missed opportunities, and it leads to defeats.
I have to pick my Niners going to the Super Bowl because, it's the Lions. What more can they do? And Goff has been there, but he's never proved much more than being Goff. Their defense has definitely improved since Dan Campbell got there. That is something that he absolutely understands.
Yeah, and they drafted Derek Moore in the second round. They got Blake Miller at right tackle in the first round. So I do like what the Lions did in the draft. So if they get there, it'll be because he stepped up. But watching Achilles, that's going to be the reason the Lions lose, because Kendrick Law was the Lions' fifth round pick out of Auburn. We found out he just tore his Achilles this morning. So
Well, watching Mike Green absolutely put Bell on his ass at the combine. I was like, Bell, dude, I would have loved to have him in the second round. But, Romeo Height is a nice consolation piece. But I just don't think the Lions have what it takes to get to the Super Bowl.
I agree.
I mean, they probably had that fight, and Dan Campbell's a very smart coach. I mean, that's why they have sustained under him. But I don't want to, I guess
Niners are going to win.
I am agreeing with you. They kind of plateaued,
Yeah, the Lions.
And the Niners are going to win because, they've been the most injured team the last 3 years. And
then John Lynch is going to crane kick Dan Campbell like John-Claude Van Damme in Bloodsport. Then there's going to be a fight, the electric, because there's like an electric grid outside the Niners practice facility, outside of Levi's Stadium. There's like an electric grid. Dan Campbell and John Lynch are going to have a post-game fight at the electric grid, and John Lynch is going to win the fight against Dan Campbell, a la and it's going to be like when John-Claude Van Damme won in Bloodsport. That's what the fight's going to be like, the post-game fight between John Lynch and Dan Campbell. It's going to be...
I wonder, did they ever have any opportunities like head to head, like safety versus tight end, like
I mean, I think I think Dan Campbell was Jeremy Shockey's backup when the Giants made Super Bowl 35.
Yeah. Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Dan Campbell also played for the Saints in the mid 2000s when John Lynch was still in the league.
Yeah.
Like
and
2004,
that's because
2005. So
that's because of his football IQ. He was a tight end that is the second smartest position on offense. It's usually a backup quarterback, that couldn't make it at quarterback, so they ended up playing tight end, like so many of them. And like me. But like I said, man, Dan Campbell is definitely a force to be reckoned with, but I've said my piece on Lynch, and
I feel like either
done,
AFC team could beat the Niners in a Super Bowl, but you can only pick one of these AFC teams, whether it's my Patriots or your Bills, and I think we're all picking the Bills this year. You, me, and Joey are all on the same page. We're all picking the Bills.
Yeah, and yeah, I absolutely agree with that. The Super Bowl matchup, I think that might be the hardest I've had to pick since, because I'm trying not to let
Yeah, because we
be the
all
home
have
team and my
the Bills in the Super Bowl. We all have a different matchup. Like, well, Joey could pick the Chiefs again, but I just don't think the Chiefs' luck against the Bills is going to continue. I mean, it has to run out at a certain point. It has to run out at a certain point. So
yeah, for sure.
I did pick Buffalo and Seattle to meet in the Super Bowl. I'll show you guys the. I'll show you. Microphone instead of All right, let's. Okay. All right. Now you guys can hear me. Perfect.
Yeah, it takes me to hit my camera in and out, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not sure about that. I could hear Joey, but not you.
Yeah, now you can hear me, right?
All right, so we were all on the Super Bowl picks, and you were starting with Seattle versus.
No, Joey still hasn't made his conference title picks, William. Then we'll get to the Super Bowl.
All right.
And the first game is the NFC title.
Yeah,
game,
you guys were so entrenched in your picks. I just let you go.
So we've got the Rams and the Buccaneers for the NFC title game. This is a tough game to pick because these two.
The Rams and the Bucs. You're right. They're both tough games to pick, if you're being honest about it. And
I know you picked the Rams in the regular season, but that was in LA. This game's in Tampa, and there are far greater implications on the line.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Rams are the older team now. Remember, the Bucs got younger at wide receiver. The Bucs got younger in a lot of different areas. The Rams are the older team. And remember, they got Myles Garrett, but guess what? Myles Garrett's going to turn 30 in the middle of the season. And for a defensive end that gets triple teamed all the time,
I think Ruben Bain Jr.
I don't care what type of dinosaur you are.
Rookie of the year. I think Ruben Bain Jr. is going to be defensive rookie of the year for Bucs at edge rusher.
It's very possible. And then you have Matthew Stafford. Stafford's going to be in his early 40s going into this. So the Rams are basically on their last legs. They got like a 2-year window right now. And right now they're tired. I'll give them 2 because
Yeah.
and I'm gonna go with the Bucks in this one because it's gonna be a close game, but I'm thinking Baker Mayfield can steady the ship just long enough to let those young guys cook. And LA, we know Myles Garrett wears down late. It's only a matter of time before Stafford starts wearing down late. And now you're talking about playing into late January. That's going to be tough for the Rams to overcome with an older roster.
Is 5th time the charm for Josh Allen? Because I've been telling you, Josh Allen's either going to beat Darnold or he's going to beat Baker for his first Super Bowl for about 2 years now. Is it going to be Allen? Is he finally going to beat Mahomes? I know there's a temptation to pick Mahomes simply because you've always wanted a Baker Mahomes Super Bowl, but I just think the Bills are better this year.
I wasn't even thinking about that, honestly. I was thinking more about the Bills, and they still have
They got DJ Moore, Bradley Chubb. They drafted really well. They got guys like TJ Parker, Skylar Bell.
They did.
Davis and Ike from Ohio State.
But they do still have deficiencies overall because outside of DJ Moore at wide receiver,
I like Shakir. They added. They kept.
Are we looking for Skylar Bell to jump right in and be the number 2 receiver?
No, they've got Khalil Shakir. He's been their number 1 for years. They gave him a 4-year extension, and now he's the number 2. So you've got 2 number 1.
And Shakir does play on the inside a lot, so they have the advantage on the inside when it comes to receivers. They have big body guys that can get inside and do a lot of good things in there. But it's at outside because
they're slot receivers, Josh Palmer. But they've got Keon Coleman, they've got Skylar Bell, and they've got those 2 young guys pushing Palmer for that wide receiver 3 job.
Well, I'm going to tell you something about Skylar Bell. You know, he played up there at UConn in, you know, a pro style offense. He runs kind of like a light a DJ Moore, you know, kind of like a running back. He was absolutely my favorite wide receiver this draft, and I was just ecstatic to see him land on the Bills because they haven't drafted Josh Allen anything to play with, nothing. Khalil Shakir and Keon Coleman, they haven't given up on Keon Coleman. I haven't given up on Keon Coleman. I like him as a prospect, and he is really, really bright. But, you know, Skylar Bell can I don't know how quick he will develop. I don't know if it'll be this year. But he, like I said, he played in that pro style offense. Those guys in front of him are just bodies. That's it. Just bodies in front of him. And, you know, the number 2, if not number 1 role on this offense, you know, and Josh Allen can absolutely see that. You know, I mean,
the Chiefs have experience, but at the same token, the Bills have so much receiver depth that it may overwhelm the Chiefs' cornerback depth.
That may be the big thing, William. How fast does Bell develop? Because if he develops quickly, then that flips the entire conversation. Because now the Bills have a legitimate 1, 2, 3 receiving group and not 1, 2, and, you know, decides to show up today or not. So that completely flips the conversation. So the big thing for me is, what does that development look like? And I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think Bell and Palmer rotate at number 3 this year. And I think Kansas City, this is it for Kansas City, whether you like it or not. When Kelsey bought into the Guardians, that's basically saying, hey, I'm playing for my future. I'm done. I'm coming back for Patrick. This is all I've got left. He's moving back to Ohio, and he's going to marry Taylor Swift and
Madison
things
Square
outside of football. So I'm going to take the Chiefs. This is their last run. And after this, they're done. And
Well,
it's going
I
to be
wanna
the
finish-
Bills conference to lose
Right.
after this season. So
I think the
right,
Bills
all right.
win it this year, and then then we see. We'll see, because if it's
Yeah.
not the Bills this year, it'll probably be either the Chiefs or the Patriots. But we'll
Yep.
see.
Well, getting back, I just want to say finish my piece on Skylar Bell. I mean, he absolutely fits, the eye test. 6 foot, 185 pounds. 4.4 even speed, 41-inch vertical. He caught like
He
101
was
passes.
60th on my draft board on our draft
Yeah.
simulator. We had him in the late second round. I know most
Yeah.
people had him in the third, fourth round, but we had him in the late second round. We knew.
I was screaming for my Niners to take him, just who he is, man. And he has put up the numbers, considering it was at UConn, but he has the experience. He has the size. He's got everything, man. He's got everything that those other guys on the Bills don't have. So I was glad to see him land here. I'm sure that they will make him, beat out the guys in front of him, but he is absolutely capable of that.
Yeah.
All right, next.
All right. Before we make our Super Bowl winners, Joey, I'm gonna let Joey go first because we both have the Bills in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna let Joey go first and pick his champion here because it's we got a Super Bowl 55 rematch 6 years later, except it's Baker instead of Tom Brady, and it's Mahomes playing Baker in L.A., where Baker's midlife crisis happened after he went from the Browns to the Panthers to the Rams for the Super Bowl.
yeah, and I think this is going to be a very good matchup. Obviously, I've been talking about the history between Baker and Mahomes on here for years. They're friends. They still talk last time I heard, or text anyway. They're on different ends of the country spectrum, so I doubt they talk much. But so it's an intriguing matchup there. This is, but I'm going to be objective when it comes to this. I think the Chiefs are a better team.
Yeah.
And no matter how tightly Baker's back's against the wall, he can only do it so many times in a row. And so I think it's going to be a tight game with the youth of the Buccaneers and Baker's fiery determination. But I got the Chiefs in this with their last hurrah.
So
Because
the
after
Kansas
this,
City
I think there are going to be some
Strong-
retirements. I think there are going to be some other things happening.
Yeah, and with Mahomes and Kelsey, I think with Mahomes getting number 4, he ties Joe Montana. I still think depends. I think the Chiefs will have another Super Bowl run, but it'll be in the 2030s when they get the new indoor stadium in Kansas. That's when I think they'll have.
It'll be a few years. They're going to have to rebuild a little bit because they're aging a little bit, and Andy Reid's he's getting up there in age.
Yeah,
So how long is he going to be able to keep him?
I think one of the NFC West coaches, whether it's Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, one of them is going to get pissed off at their GM to the point where they're just going to bail, and the Chiefs are going to pick up that guy when Andy Reid retires, and there's not going to be a drop-off. That's what I think is going to end up happening. Because Lynch is not drafted well. Les Snead, McVay did not like the Ty Simpson pick by Les Snead. I think one of those coaches is going to bail on the NFC West, and the Chiefs are going to snag him right when Andy Reid retires. And it's going to be
maybe I'm overstating the Chiefs' decline because maybe Gray and those tight ends come in and say, "Hey, we ain't pushovers. He's going to step in." So maybe
they've got Noah Gray.
Maybe I'm just overstating.
Cutcliffe said he had the best football IQ since Peyton Manning. You got Noah Gray. You've got Jared Wiley from TCU, and I think they've got another
John Michael Gillenborg.
He's third string or fourth string on the Chiefs depth
Well,
chart.
yeah, they're going to
I
make
like
him win
him.
it,
I
but
liked him in the draft, though.
I like Gillenborg. I think he's
Yeah.
got enough upside to develop into a starter. It's just
he's
gonna
got
have
the
to
upside.
learn.
It's a question of where he came from and everything else, and what he actually did there. But the Chiefs is a great spot for him to learn for a few years, and they will be looking
Really?
for tied into their future.
The Chiefs have Jake Brenningstool and Trey Watson ahead of John Michael Gillenborg. I'm yelling really at that, not really at William.
That's interesting.
Jake Brenningstool and Trey Watson are 4 and 5 on the Chiefs
Who?
tight end depth chart. Gillenborg is
I've
6.
heard the stool, but it sounds too much like stool.
Yeah,
like,
Brenningstool.
Not bar stool, but yeah,
Jake
not
Brenningstool.
not to pick
He was
on the guy.
an undrafted tight
And I don't know
end
who the hell
out of Clemson. He was an undrafted tight end at Clemson last year.
Yeah, I remember that too, and
I like him. I like
read
Gillenborg a little bit better though, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
Gillenborg, he runs some clean routes. He definitely can block.
I think
I like who he
Gillenborg can
is.
be the third string tight end in a year from now when Kelsey retires, behind
Yeah.
Wiley, behind Noah Gray, but he's probably a practice squad guy this year.
Yeah, well, that's also the thing, is it usually takes a few years for them to develop, doing everything a left tackle
And then
does.
if Wiley
doing
struggles
everything
at tight end 2 when Kelsey retires, then it creates an opportunity for Gillenborg to be tight end 2 to Gray in 2028. He's not going to be tight end 2 this year, but
No. It's always a tight end's third year, generally, when they show you who they are, and yeah, I like that spot, and I think he has more upside than.
All right, I'm guessing we're both taking the Bills to win the Super Bowl, William. As much as you'd like to see, well, your Niners do have more experience in the big game since they've been there twice and lost to the Chiefs both times. Well, that's one thing working for them.
I've been sitting here thinking about it, from the start. This was my pick at the beginning of last year, and hell no, man. I don't know. I generally, I don't like to be that homer, but I think that the Bills are gonna bill when they get to the Super Bowl, and they might have the firepower, they might have that. But they don't have Mike Shanahan, and they don't have George Kittle, and they don't have Christian McCaffrey. It's Brock Purdy, I think, is
have more experience in the big game. I think the Bills are a better team on paper than the Niners, but the Niners lost 2 Super Bowls to the Chiefs. They have the experience in the big game. The Bills don't. That's an advantage.
Yeah. Yes,
same could be said with Seattle. I've got Seattle and Buffalo in the Super Bowl.
Yep, but I just have to do it. I don't think that Joe Brady is ready as a head coach. He might have been a little bit rushed along, but there were so many fans calling for it and so many people calling for it. And now we're seeing fans and ESPN, make picks and do that kind of thing. It's like, what's happening here? But, Christian McCaffrey is 30, like what, tomorrow? Anyway, and that is it's going to be that one last run that Kittle is going to be out, but Tonjes has shown that even though he came out of nowhere, he can absolutely play, and he can fill that role. I mean, look, he put up some pretty good stats last year. And Brock Purdy is due to shut critics up, but so is Josh Allen. I mean, don't get me wrong on that. But I don't like to be the homer, but I don't see them having much more of a chance than they do like right now. They have to figure out what they're doing at receiver. Like I said, DeJon Stribling is not it. He who knows? Maybe he could develop into something, but he passes the eye test and that's it. But then you watch the film, and the eye test doesn't go so far when you're watching him in press coverage and can't even get off the line.
And I love what the Bills did in this draft, much more so than the Niners.
Yeah.
And I just think it's the Bills' time.
Yeah.
I don't think the fact that Joe Brady's a first-year coach, I don't think that's going to matter as much. Sometimes it changes for the best. But
I
over
absolutely
Seahawks.
love that. Yeah, and you know,
I'm going 31-27 Bills. I just think the Bills, they had the Legion of Boom. Now they have the Legion of Doom. That's the new nickname for the Seahawks secondary. I think Allen's going to carve the Legion of Doom. And I'm going to go with I'm going to go with some weird choices to get touchdowns in this Super Bowl. For Seattle, I think we're going to see Torrey Horton get a touchdown in the Super Bowl. And for the Bills, I've got throwing a game-winning touchdown, Skylar Bell. Skylar Bell's going to win the Super Bowl as a rookie. That's going to be he's going to have, and it's going to be like the Santonio Holmes catch against the Cardinals. That's how the Super Bowl is going to end. Allen's going to throw a touchdown to Skylar Bell, and it's going to be like the Santonio Holmes play. And the Seahawks fans are going to argue he was out of bounds. That's how the Super Bowl is going to end. 31-27, and I only have the Bills.
I do like them
point in the divisional round. So
if it does end up, you know, the Bills versus the Seahawks, I think the Bills will absolutely take them. Seattle, you know, got too built up, and they're going to be too into. Oh yeah, we're back. Well, you know, there's lots of teams that have Super Bowl slumps, you know, after they lose a Super Bowl.
And Seattle lost Super Bowl 49 to Brady, Tom Brady. This time they'll lose to Joe Brady. And Brady will keep Seattle from repeating once again. It's just a different Brady. That's the only difference.
I can see Tom Brady, you know, sitting there singing the Brady Bunch song, you know, with hair past the shoulder. Never mind. No, I definitely like your pick, Chris. That's good.
So, yeah, Bills win 31-27, and then bombshell, Josh Allen pulls an Andrew Luck after the Bills win the Super Bowl to spend more time with his family and his kid. He pulls an Andrew Luck and retires after winning the Super Bowl.
Hey, man, go out on top. There's not any better way to go.
Kidding,
yeah,
that is the best way to go out.
It is. And I don't blame any of the players that have done that. You know, if Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, you know, half of the Niners starters retired tomorrow, I would not be mad if it was the best thing for them. That's just who I am.
I still think Josh Allen is the moxie, the fire, the testosterone, even though he's a dad now. But he's going to have that edge to win a Super Bowl. But what's next? What's next after he wins that Super Bowl? Is that the peak? I feel like that's the peak now that he's more matured as a person.
There's people that are still going to be doubting him. I really think so. Maybe he got lucky. Like if it came down to the Santonio Holmes catch, you know, he got lucky. You know, some people are going to be saying, well, it's going to be, you know, their rivals and just those who doubted Josh Allen in the first place. You know, and Josh Allen, I loved him in that draft, and he absolutely needed some work. But he got it. You know, he got to figure it out. He can take a game and take a team and put it on his shoulders and just carry it. That's what
I'm thinking for I'm thinking for the 27-28 season, the final four teams for me at the moment are Packers, Giants, and then I've got Chargers, Ravens. And I think the Ravens are going to be the 1 seed because the Ravens are going to have all these guys in contract years. Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, T. Higgins. They're going to have all these guys in contract years. Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And Zay Flowers. That is going to drive them to finally get their shit together, especially if DeCosta says, win a Super Bowl if you want to get extended. And they're going to actually dominate. But then they're going to shit the bed against the Chargers. Like, they lost the Chiefs at home in the AFC title. What's more embarrassing than that? Losing an AFC title game with home field against the Chargers. So, but if the Chargers get to Atlanta, do they play Green Bay? Or maybe they play the Giants because you have another Harbaugh, Jim versus John, and maybe Jim wins this time. and you'd have the two big media markets, New York and LA. So
Yeah, I think Jim has a little bit more of a head start than John does with that team. So I would
yeah,
agree with
so
that.
we could get a
I mean,
Harbaugh too. I mean, yeah, a lot of people are speculating that if the Chargers make Super Bowl 62, their opponent will be Green Bay. But I'm going to counter argue and say if the Packers play the Giants are the one team that's always had Green Bay's number in the playoffs.
Yep.
So I could see the Giants, but regardless, I think Allen is the Super Bowl MVP for this year. If the Chargers get to a Super Bowl in Atlanta, Lad McConkey is going to be the MVP, William. Okay, I'm just telling you right now, it's not going to be Herbert. Everyone's going to think it's going to be Herbert. It's going to be Lad fucking McConkey because he played for the Georgia Bulldogs, Super Bowls in Atlanta.
yeah.
This has Cooper Cup written all MVP all written all over it again. That's what I'm telling
I
you,
can
man.
see that. And that would be absolutely fitting because I just traded McConkey in our league. But I got so much of a return, dude. I was like, huh? I was like, okay, I'll let go of him.
That's why I was going to make you a better offer for McConkey, but it's
no,
like,
man.
you know,
Well,
my team's already stacked to the point where you shouldn't take any offers from me. That's
well, I got Jordan Addison, I got Tank Dell, and I got a second, third from 2027 that I didn't have after trading you. So I mean, it absolutely revived.
I was not going to give you any,
but
27 picks, but
yeah.
I would have given you a 28 first because that's where I'm at. I think I'd rather mortgage a 28 or 29 first than a 27 second.
Right.
That's how highly I think of 27.
Yeah.
And you don't want to trade with someone like that because someone like that doesn't have your best interest in the short term.
Yeah, for sure. And I said I was going to win that league by year 3 with players that I had personally scouted. And that's what I'm doing. I'm very well on my way. We'll see how it works out.
We made our
I'm only fifth in the power rankings, though.
We've made our Super Bowl picks. We in finals is 1-1 Carolina and Vegas. Both games were decided by 1 goal. NBA Finals, the Knicks lead 2-0. I still think the Spurs could win, but it's going to be a 7-game series if the Spurs do come back. I think only way the Spurs can win this series is if they win both of the Knicks games that Trump attends in Madison Square Garden and they win the remaining 2 games in San Antonio. That is the only path for the Spurs to win this NBA Finals. And if they fail to do that, the Knicks are the NBA champions. It's just that simple, Joey. It's just that simple. I know I picked the Spurs in 5, and I said the Stanley Cup was going to be more competitive than the NBA Finals. I was right about that. I was wrong about the NBA Finals being one-sided for the Western Conference champion. The Knicks have really played well these last 2 games. QMJHL draft was last night. Claude Lemieux's nephew is now eligible for the 2029 NHL draft, William. It was a sweet nugget I picked up last night. I know Claude Lemieux's your favorite hockey player of all time. Isn't that cool that his nephew's now in junior hockey? One step closer to the NHL. I mean, you might say something when I bring that up on Under the Bleachers, but I feel like a lot of you guys are tired out. I know the NHL Combines today as well. There were some, I'm going to find out some questions from the NHL Combine, because there were some pretty crazy questions. There were some pretty crazy questions at the NHL Combine. One of the questions... Okay, they're showing the jumps. They're adding the broad jump, the vertical. They're adding some stuff from the NFL Combine to the NHL Combine, like the 10-meter sprint, the broad jump. So Victor Plante is the son of former Sabres Derek Plante. Yeah, I'm going to pull up the questions because there were some very cool questions. These NHL GMs always ask ridiculous questions at the Combine. Here was the question that was asked to Caleb Malhorta, one of Williams' favorite players in this draft. If you were on a desert island and there was no water, but the person next to you had a water bottle, would you kill them and take their water? That was a question that an NHL team asked top 5 pick Caleb Malhorta. Would you kill a teammate and take their water? Like, I feel like when we're talking about killing teammates, that's crossing a line. He said yes.
Okay.
He said yes.
He said yes.
He said yes.
I do not like that response because
It shows a lack of ethics. That's what some people are saying on X.
Me as a person, you know, if I have $20, you know, and it doesn't matter who it is, you know, well, anybody besides anybody who doesn't like me. This is probably long, but distinguished, undistinguished.
But, you know, NHL,
anyway,
they're taking this to a new extreme because I don't even think NFL scouts ask questions that personal.
That's a crazy question because, you know, like I said, if somebody has something or I have something, I'll give somebody half. It's not going to make me or break me, you know, and I would absolutely, you know, give my life protecting someone else, you know, even if they were a stranger, you know, just because that's who I am as a person. And that's the goddamn truth. You know,
the team that asked Caleb Malhotra that question is the Montreal Canadiens. They're picking 29. They're picking 28th in the draft. They're picking 28th in the draft. They'd be picking 29th most years, but the NHL gave Ottawa pick 32. Stanley Cup winner's going to get 31. So they're picking 28. I think they're picking 28th in the draft. They're not even going to get the chance to draft Malhotra. So why are they wasting their time asking that question? I think they're.
I don't know, man. That's beyond me because it's like they're
it's
just
almost
trying
like they're trying to drive his draft stock down. Remember when the Dolphins got Dan Marino?
Yeah. Well, yeah. And well, let me tell you about driving draft stock down. That's what happened with Michael Trigg this last year.
Yeah.
You know, so-called character concerns, and no one knew what the character concerns were related to, just that he left school. Big fucking deal. You know? It's like I don't care that he left school. I don't care about the character concerns. That dude is an absolute beast at tight end. You know, he's got a 7-foot wingspan, you know, and I think, like I said before, that Jerry Jones needed every pick that he could get trying to trade for Caleb Downs, you know, not knowing that he would actually fall to him. That sounds like a Jerry Jones trip. And, you know, where Michael Trigg went to college, Texas. That kind of thing, you know, yeah. So anyway, we'll get beyond that now. Next.
Yeah.
Joey, I haven't heard from you for a minute. You still here?
He's still here. I just think his interest, now that we've covered most of the football topics on the show, I think most of the interest is gone, and this is the final football show.
You guys are on a roll right now. What do you need to hear from me for?
I mean,
well, if we're on a roll, you know, they say
it's like they're talking about hockey players and things that I really don't know about, and you're just going on, and it's like, okay, this is kind of entertaining. Let's just listen to these guys go. Like, what am I going to contribute? My awesome pecs? Do you need me to flex for you? I mean, that would be my contribution. It's like,
go ahead. Do
I got
the big pop and pump, you know.
Someone's saying that Gavin McKinnis' draft stock should fall because he only did 3 pull-ups at the Combine. He's going to go number 1 because he's the best player in the draft this year. It doesn't really matter that he can only do 3 pull-ups. If this were a more physical sport like football, yes, that would matter. This is hockey. You just need to stay and produce on the ice.
And let me tell you,
really don't matter
when
it
comes
comes
to
to
swing that stick at somebody's head if he can't do the pull-ups. I mean, hockey's a physical sport. They get in fights all the time. He's going to have to learn how to swing at that. He's going to have to get that shoulder swinging in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, swinging a stick, though, you know, I mean, it takes different muscles than it does to like do an actual pull up, you know, with your hands where they're supposed to be. You know, that takes a little bit of a workout and something that she practiced, and that was probably something that wasn't in his regimen, and they'll probably put it in his regimen now just to absolutely prove it. I mean, I could see those same muscles, you know, if you're maybe bringing a stick down, but you're going to get ejected for that shit.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Well, it's like I just went through that. There are all motions that can be used from a pull up. I mean, you know,
yeah.
I think on the last
yeah.
one I look like a Viking, but you know, it's like if I look like a Viking or
Yeah,
a
I
Mongol
think
swinging a
The
sword, I can't
highest
say that's a bad
vertical
thing.
jump at this year's NHL Combine is 20 inches. So anyone wondering, NHL athletes, they're fast, they're explosive skaters. They do not have the athleticism NBA or NFL players have.
Well, guys,
20
I got
inches,
a
I
question
think, is the
for you
highest vertical jump.
because there is an explosion scale that is used at the NFL Combine. Is there the same type of scale in the NHL? Say for the NFL, it is the
I
combined
don't think there's an explosion
vertical
scale. They
and
just
long.
jump in the air and they track how far they've jumped in the air. They don't have an explosion scale.
Well, the explosion scale is the combination of the long jump and the vertical. So
They're
is
just
there
having the
some type
guys
of
jump on a
combined
mattress to
measure?
see how far in the air they can go. There's no vertical scale, even though I think there should be. It would make it. It would legitimize.
Jumping on a mattress.
It would legitimize
What
it
are
a
you,
little
5?
bit more. And yeah, they're also the NCAA is starting in 2027. The NCAA is not going to let players enroll in college hockey as freshmen until they turn 19 because a lot of these teams in the Western Hockey League in Quebec, in Ontario, in the USHL, which Ron watches a lot of these teams are pissed off that they're only getting these kids for 2 to 3 years from ages 15 to 18, and then once they turn 18, they go to college instead of staying with the junior team for additional years. So Bill Daly suggested that the freshman year should start at age 19 for players that want to play college hockey after they're drafted. The freshman year should start at age 19. That way, by the time they graduate, their deadline for if the NHL team can sign them will expire right at that point, right as they graduate at age 22. So that is going to get put to a vote next month, and if it passes, it will go into effect for the 27-28 college hockey season, meaning players in the 27 NHL draft or 28 NHL draft, they will not be allowed to play college hockey until they turn 19. So that'll affect the 28 NHL draft more than the 27 because Landon DuPont's probably going to go to Michigan this fall. He's the projected number 1 pick in 27. So that change will have ramifications on the 28 draft class. Probably won't affect this draft or the next one, though. But still, I do think that's an interesting development in the college hockey landscape. You can't enroll as a freshman until you're 19, even if you're exceptionally good against players your own age. Like, Landon DuPont and Gavin McKenna both won the WHL in their +1 draft year. So they decide to spend their draft year in college, which I respect, because it shows how they can handle a tougher level of competition. I respect the hell out of that. So, but these junior hockey leagues, they're pissed they're losing players to college, so the NHL's basically saying, we don't want a player's freshman year to start until they turn 19. They get drafted at 18. They can try out for the NHL team at 18. If they're not good enough to make the NHL team, they go back to juniors for a year. Because before NIL, junior hockey league teams owned the rights to players until they were 20. And now with NIL, that's completely out the window. So,
well, you know, that's the one thing that I forgive Gavin Caleb Malhotra for, you know, saying that is because he is that young and so impressionable, and you know that's why the Army gets him that young, so they can, you know, turn him into killers. And so I give him a mulligan on that one because of that, because of how how old he is, how impressionable he is, and what he thought the team wanted him to say. Maybe, you
And
know,
that's basically why the NHL is basically they're pushing the college age up to 19. So you could still draft a kid when they turn 18, but they would not be eligible for college until they're 19 because back in the day, these junior hockey league teams, they'd have control of the player for until they were 20. But now, thanks to NIL, they don't have that anymore. And giving them that third year or fourth year, which is critical in junior hockey for the player's development and confidence, giving them that, it's a fine medium. It gives the teams what they want. It gives the colleges what they want as well. So, and it gives the NHL teams that don't want to sign these guys until they're 21 or 22 that window of additional development as well. And I just think that makes hockey better as a whole. So.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I don't know, they could probably pick up some pretty bad habits from some of these coaches on some of these, not up to par coaches from some of these junior leagues or even teammates, so it's kind of wondering how that kid is going to be, that's why, the NFL's policy has to be 3 years out of high school regardless, and they've stuck with that, and I mean, but
Pierre-Alexandre Lemieux, he's the face of the Shawinigan Cataracts. Pierre-Alexandre Lemieux, because they said his uncle played hockey. I was thinking he'd be related to Mario Lemieux because Mario Lemieux was in the QMJHL, but we found out it was Claude Lemieux was his uncle. His uncle was Claude Lemieux, who we talked about on Under the Bleachers, which is crazy.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Nephew's now in junior hockey. He'll be eligible for the NHL draft in 2029. Pierre-Alexandre Lemieux. He is Claude Lemieux's nephew.
Yep.
That's crazy. Claude Lemieux. We're getting old. I mean, we're getting old.
Shit, you're telling me. I woke up this morning and said, what the fuck?
Yeah, you probably read that text like, really? Claude Lemieux's nephew's now playing junior hockey?
Right. I hope he has every bit of success that Claude had in the NHL, and I know
him and Matt Denault are probably going to be the top two centers in 2029. Yes, there's a prospect named Madden. First name's Madden. It's not a football player. I'm kind of pissed about that.
The one thing, oh shit, talking about Lemieux, I mean, I know he's in a better place now. I know what hell CTE can be. I mean, it's one of those things that, with what you look back on and what you once had compared to what your brain has actually become, when you start missing
Claude
missing
Lemieux was a
everything.
winger. Pierre-Alexandre, his nephew's a center, 6'3", 181 already.
Well, you could have just labeled Claude Lemieux's position as badass.
Well, he's a forward. A lot of forwards can play all three roles: left wing, center, right winger. There's a lot of forwards that can play all three of those roles, and the guys that can get drafted higher. It's just like having an offensive lineman that can play multiple positions.
Right.
That's what teams value.
Very much when it comes to offensive linemen.
So the Vezina Trophy is going to go to Lightning goalie Andrei Vasilevsky, Avalanche goalie Scott Wedgwood, who led the NHL in save percentage and wins, finished 5th in voting, which I think is bullshit. Wedgwood used to be the backup goalie on the Dallas Stars. And Jake Ottinger finished 8th. Dan Vladar, the Flyers goalie, finished 6th. Ilya Sorokin finished 2nd with 51 points. Vasilevsky, the Lightning goalie, had 114. So Vasilevsky had 17 first-place votes, double the amount of first-place votes any other goalie got, which is crazy. He won by that many votes. I think it probably should have came down to Vasilevsky and Wedgwood, but the fact that Wedgwood finished 5th is, I mean, it's crazy.
For sure.
That's one of the best team in the league. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We talked about the NBA Finals. We talked about the Stanley Cup. Next Saturday, we will be back on Talk Shoe. I've got the first round of my NBA mock draft done. The NBA draft simulator's up to 30 players. I will add the next 30 players to next Saturday's show. Oh, and the NHL mock draft I'm working on. I've already got the second round done. I'm working on the write-ups for round 2, but I've got the simulator up to like 68 players. So we are making progress on that as well. The season finale of Under the Bleachers is this Wednesday. Maybe we'll do we could do an NHL draft recap show with Ron and Under the Bleachers, but I think that'd be a good test episode for the other streaming platform we're looking at, not named Restream. Sure. That might be, because I don't know what we would talk about for July yet. We'll figure it out later, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll do it.
I do like the hockey thing, so. Yeah, check out Draft Utopia. Check out Under the Bleachers. Check out all of us.
Joey might be relaunching his network soon. I don't want to give away any details, but check that out whenever he does or doesn't decide to bring it back. But yeah, that'll do it.
Like I said, man, we've got the best information. We've got everything else. You know, I mean, if you ain't got any personal opinions about us and get through the bullshit, man, you can't get any better. So, yep. Peace.
Yes. Thank you guys. See you guys next week.